Big Sloppy Meat, thank you for the cheer. First of all, I wasn't playing Untitled Goose Game today anyway. Second of all, due to, sadly, financial constraints, I can't afford to buy anything right now at all. So, you know, all funds are going towards bills that I can't afford, essentially. So, no new games this week as things stand right now, as I've already said. Not much I can do about that, and I apologize. I wish that my situation was better. It's not. It sucks. Okay? Alright. I would love to play Entitled Goose Game eventually. It's like I told people on the pre-stream, if you guys really want to help, game-wise, donate credit. If you could donate, like, Nintendo Shop credits to get it, that's different. Then I could do that. But any funds that get, you know, any tips or whatever have to go towards bills because I have no money. So, not good. Not good when I have over a week to wait to get paid by Twitch. Alright. Boy, all you guys are fucking deaf, aren't you? I literally just explained the situation and now people, well, what about, I thought you got money yesterday. People just don't listen. You're assholes. I'm just gonna ignore you. If you want to be an asshole, you're just gonna get ignored or banned. I literally just explained the situation. But what about yesterday? Fuck off. Boy, you're stupid.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News 2nd Edition. I'm your host, GTG, and let's get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take you guys back to November 2nd of 2016. Let's see here. Let's get things worked up here a little bit. Alright, just making sure that I'm actually organized, because you know me, I'm not organized at all. Let's turn it down a little bit. Alright, you know me, I'm not organized. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. So like I said, we're going to take you back to November 2nd of 2016. King of Hate Vlogs update, Patreon information, October results, and business status. Should be interesting. I'm sure Patreon's going to play a very big part in this in some way, shape, or form. My general thoughts when I chose this video was to give you guys an idea of how Patreon was going at the time, how much he depended on it, and how much he hyped it up. Which, like anything else that is going, not even successful, just going right for him at any given time, he puts a large emphasis on it, on how much he needs, and how much he appreciates people helping him out. We'll dig in through everything else after that. Should be fun. Ladies and gentlemen, give me just a second to get set up. I'll see you guys in a few. See, short and sweet. Kind of.
What's up, everyone? Darksydephil here, and welcome to an update on a few things. First of all, this video is going to primarily cover a lot of information regarding Patreon, especially if you are one of my new patrons who maybe has never ever pledged before, and you're not sure how the system works, because in the past couple of weeks, I got a ton of new patrons. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that, and I want to make sure that everyone's up to snuff on how it works so that you're not sitting around in confusion wondering, oh no, where am I supposed to go? How do I vote? What do I do here? I'm going to explain all of that in this video, okay? I got updates regarding the status of the October Patreon drive. I'm going to let you know how we did, which is great positive news. I've got news regarding the November Patreon, which has a new goal and everything set up, so I got a lot to talk about. But then I also want to give you an update regarding my business, primarily because, as you know, the past couple of weeks I've been talking a lot about the status of my business on YouTube. Basically, if you've been following along, you already know that my views have been down, and I don't understand why at a time when normally during this time of year my views naturally go up, because I'm covering all... By the way, yes, I know I'm wearing the Deadpool hat from Halloween. I'm just being silly.
Now, I'll go ahead and cut him off right there because I feel like that's a good way of doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with the King of Hate Vlogs. Update, Patreon information, October results, and business status. This is from November 2nd of 2016. Yet again, King of Hate Vlogs. For any of you who are asking, if you guys ever need to grab a clip or something from his video, I always leave the video links down in the description that I use. So you can always find whatever you're looking for. First things first. One, and I want you guys to kind of take heed to what I'm about to say, given the current situation with the cowboy hat and the vest. Didn't this idiot tell us for years that he didn't need gimmicks, and he didn't need props, he didn't need stuff to draw people in, like draw the kiddies in for views and for money and whatnot? That every time you see Phil, it's authentic Phil. He's real. You know what I'm saying? He's a true gamer. He doesn't need to color his hair. He doesn't need to do antics, right? He doesn't need to perform stunts to get people's attention and to hold people's attention. Then what the fuck was this? Matter of fact, what's the whole situation with the October dress-up thing that he does every year? I mean, one would assume that that's something that a child would be interested in, yeah? But yet he feels the need to do that every year. What about that? Is that not a thing? Is that not something that holds a bit of credence? Oh, just because you don't do it exactly the way PewDiePie, Markiplier, Ninja, just because he doesn't do it the exact same way they do it, to rephrase, means that he looks down upon it. Like what he's doing isn't just the poor man's version of it. You're telling me this idiot couldn't actually go off and find an actual Deadpool mask? He had to get this, I don't know, this looks like this World War I kind of like pilot hat or something, or like pilot head guard, if you will, that they used to wear. That's what this looks like. This looks cheap. This looks cheap. It looks petty. You can actually buy the real mask. You can find a Deadpool mask all year round. Find a Wolverine one too. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Oink, oink. So it's just it's a thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's a thing. He talks about how he doesn't have children in his audience. He's not a children's entertainer. He doesn't need gimmicks to fall back on to draw people in or to keep people, and yet, in actuality, if you really look back and you look closely, he does. He absolutely does. Look at the vest and the hat that he's doing now. Now, the hat, to be perfectly honest with you, is well established from Axe the King. And the fact that he's never washed that damn thing, I can only imagine what that smells like. As it pertains to that vest, dude, if he wasn't making the $100 a night on that shit, it would be right back into whatever closet he found it, and it would continue to sit there. At the end of the day, this idiot right here, as I've told you guys in previous videos here, he needs people and he wants people to be invested in him, not the content, which is as narcissistic as you could get in a lot of ways, to be honest with you. Yeah, you're going to go ahead and watch people because of their personality or aspects of their personality or how they deliver shit to you. But at the end of the day, as a content creator, you do want people to be essentially focused on the content. Even if, for example, you were going to say like a weight loss journey, right? And let's say Amber or Chantel or anybody else who's failed lately at that. Same concept. Yes, you want them to be invested in you, but you really want them to be invested on your journey. So in actuality, it's a bit different. But I think it all falls into the same category. You can have someone, or you can have a group of people, I should say, invested in your weight loss journey without getting every little thing about you. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. Like your day-to-day is one thing, but your personal life is another. You should be able to separate the two. Phil could never do that. He purposely brought you into his life and into the aspects of his life and the people in his life to be monetized. But now he looks at it as it's a bad thing. Oh, it's they invaded my privacy, they've ruined my life, they've ruined my business opportunities, and so on and so forth. But that's only because he has no one to defend him now. He's not relevant. He's not, in his words, I would never use these words to describe Darksydephil, he's not revered. And because of that, everything that he said has come back to haunt him. Because he really never expected anybody to really go back and look it up unless you initially lived through it. And in actuality, you have more and more people like myself, for example, who wasn't around for Darksydephil's early days. I was never a fan of Phil. It is what it is. And I go back because if you look at what he does now, it makes a whole lot more sense to go back and see what he used to do. It gives you a much larger picture. And in a lot of ways, it gives you the full picture. given the situation. But anyway, apples and oranges. There's my opening monologue, so let's get started.
Anyway, naturally this year, usually my views go up as I cover all of the new releases. I get this natural influx of people who normally don't watch my stuff, but they want to see people covering the new releases. And yet again, another faulty business practice that he stuck onto for years. And I'm glad he kind of admitted it, but he's stupid, so he probably didn't even really notice. It's that time of year when all the hot new releases come out. And people who don't normally watch me will come and watch me for the new releases, stick around for a couple of videos, and then they go away and never come back. That's essentially how his business practice works. It's always done that on YouTube, to be honest with you. It's like that on Twitch too, but mainly YouTube. And ladies and gentlemen, just off of the description that I gave you, you can understand why it failed. You have a bunch of people who are looking for whoever it is who's playing the next hot new game. They find Phil's channel. They watch maybe 2 or 3 parts, realize he's garbage, realize that his personality's garbage, realize the content's garbage, and then they go off and find somebody else. And maybe a few of them will stick around for like 10 parts, realize the shit's taking too goddamn long, and they'll show up in a couple of weeks after he finishes the game just to see the ending. That's it. Which leads into something that I've been saying for quite a bit. One of the worst things that happened, well, besides YouTube money, because I say YouTube's the worst thing that ever happened to Phil. The second thing, though, or the third thing, really, the second thing, we'll get to that later. The third thing that was the worst thing that ever happened to Phil was competition. It was competition. The moment YouTube gaming became profitable and more people decided to get into it, he got fucked. That's why he sits there and blames Tobuscus, Toby Turner, iJustine. He blames all these people, right, for coming into the gaming sphere, or the gaming sphere, and screw it all up and kick him out, or boot the little guys like him out. In actuality, if he was able to bring his content up to where their content was, which eventually ended up becoming the standard to some degree, or to a pocket of YouTube gaming, I should say, then he'd have been all right. But he didn't want to. He doesn't respect gaming. He doesn't respect gamers. If anything else, you're looking at someone who merely wanted the profit and nothing else. He gave 2 fucks about any of you guys. He gave 2 fucks about the gaming industry. He didn't give shit. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Whatever it was that he couldn't essentially, I mean, it's going to be brutal, but he essentially raped the industry. And he raped YouTube, to be honest. I mean, it's brutal. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is, but that's what he did. He took it for everything that it was worth, and he left it in the gutter. That was it. And the funny thing is, and the irony, if you will, is if he had taken care of that shit when he finally decided to move on, which he didn't move on, he was forced to. If he actually preserved what he had, when it would actually give him more incentive to move on and do other things. But then he could always come back. The thing is about some of the people that I've named, let's say they slip and fell and bump their goddamn head because of whatever, some type of misstep that they did in their personal lives or whatever. Eventually they can go back because they preserved and they took care of what they had. Let me give you another example. It's something that Jim Cornette preaches quite a bit, and he should. And I hope people take heed to it, because one day, I mean, outside of Vince Russo kicking the bucket, once we lose Vince Russo, if anybody considers that a loss, I mean, outside of his family, you know, I'm being a dick right now. But if anybody in the industry really considers Vince Russo's death as a loss, right? After we lose Vince, we're probably going to lose Jim after that too. With that being said, I think we should really take to heed to what Jim Cornette says about preserving the business and taking care of it for those who come later. Because if not, then it turns into an absolute fucking shit show. Most people would say it already has. I'll cover that later on. Because I'm actually almost done with that, and then I don't know where I'm going to put that yet. I have no clue. But it'll be a weekend thing. But I do want to talk about some of the things that he speaks about on the Jim Cornette experience and the Jim Cornette drive-through, because he gets a lot of good questions in there and shit like that. And so on and so forth. So it's like that. If you preserve what you have, you can usually go back to it later. Phil never did that. He exploited it. He ravished it, and then he discarded it until
he became discarded himself. And yet again, that's kind of one of the reasons why we're all at where we're at, and the reason why he's at where he's at. To be honest, you know what I mean? DSP News.
Here, I get this, and in 2016, I'm not getting it. Okay. And it's very scary because I'm not getting the increase in views, the increase in revenue that I usually get this time of year, to the point where literally, I'm not even kidding you, right now my bills are clearing for this month, and I didn't know if I was going to have enough money in the bank account to pay them because I've had a 3-month dry spell here on YouTube, and I can't figure out how to turn it around. All right.
Now, does that sound familiar, ladies and gentlemen? It should, but maybe you guys are probably being like, well, with all the GTG's rambling, I might have forgot what year we're in. What year are we in? Ladies and gentlemen, we're in 2016. This isn't 2019. This isn't even the end of 2018, which, if for any of you who've been around, you heard a lot of that. Barely having enough money for bills to clear, having to use tips to offset bills being overdrafted, stuff like that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this has gone back to probably further than 2016, November of 2016. This is the same old song and dance that a lot of his fan base has heard for over 3 years. Something to think about.
I want to say this. Thank you to everyone who has sent me messages, who has contributed constructively with suggestions, with important, just ways that I could possibly turn things around and improve my business and all of that. I appreciate that. I'm taking many things under consideration. In fact, I'm going to talk about one of the things I implemented in this video, end cards for videos, and I'm going to explain how I am going to be implementing this in many of my videos in this video.
What the fuck? Okay, wait. Keep it together. You already know, yeah. All the shit that's going down on the main channel, keep it together. Okay, first thing. I'm going to implement end cards on my videos. Anybody who essentially is a day one content creator who has any number or any size or body of work would usually use the end cards at the end of videos. Now, they might not do it at first, but eventually they will. The reason why that is because, it gives people an incentive, a very easy incentive by that notion, if you will, to check out your body of work. You're telling me that this idiot right here has been doing YouTube as long as he has, and when the system was implemented to go ahead and set up end cards, right, for either for a recent upload or a video that might fit what the viewer is currently watching, or even a playlist, this guy right here wasn't implementing it, and he looks at that as a change. See how that whole bare minimum bullshit I keep trying to tell you guys? Literally the bare goddamn minimum. He thinks the end cards at the end of YouTube videos are going to save him. Or is even a step in the right direction, when in actuality he should have already done that. He should have already done that. And more importantly, this is the same idiot for years have told people to go ahead and watch his playthroughs through his playlists. So anybody who's been entrenched in the Goutopia's not ecosystem, but in their media politics, already know how to play that. And for anybody who's new, they're only going to watch a couple of videos anyway and drop it regardless. So that's not really going to help you either which way. You've done this too many years too late, to be honest. But semantics, though, ladies and gentlemen. Semantics.
Yeah. Okay? But understand, I am taking in all of the data. I'm reading all of your comments on my videos. I'm reading all the stuff on my forums. But I can't implement everything overnight. There's changes that I'm going to probably put into effect at some point. More than likely, it's going to be early next year, once all this crazy busy...
And most of that didn't get implemented. Womp womp. You shouldn't be surprised. You know what I'm saying? Don't be wrong. There's a lot of changes that I wanted to make too, and whatnot, and it takes a little bit of time to get to it. But I think, generally, you know that eventually that I'll do it. You'll know that most content creators will eventually do it. Because people want to try to do the best they can to put up the best thing that they can possible, at least within their means. Darkseid, what's holding Darksydephil back? He doesn't have a career. He doesn't have friends. He doesn't do shit. He sits there and does what you're looking at right now all goddamn day. yet he can't implement changes to save his business, to save his ass, to save his livelihood? Matter of fact, instead of talking and doing all this nonsense right now, he should be implementing some of the changes that people are asking him for. But why isn't he doing it? So yet again, semantics.
Gaming season is over with, all right? But I can't implement them now. Right now, I'm literally going from game to game to game to game because there's so much going on. I couldn't just change my business overnight in the middle of this, or else I would miss out on a ton of games and missed revenue for the business. You know what I mean? There's no quick fix that, like...
You mean the same revenue that you're missing out on for the last 3 months? You mean that revenue, right? So I can't take time to implement changes to save my business because I'm going to miss revenue. Oh, by the way, I'm 90 days short on revenue. Any of you guys see the point that I'm trying to make here? What's another month really going to hurt him if that's really the case? Because obviously what he's doing now certainly isn't helping. He's already in a deficit. So maybe you implementing some of those changes now, champ, might be a good idea. What else do you have to lose? Oh well.
This is going to all of a sudden turn everything around and get me back in the popularity of YouTube gaming or anything like that anymore. It's just not going to happen.
Well, idiot, no one told you to look for quick fixes. That's kind of your own fault, to be honest. And you're right, there is no quick fix that's going to go ahead and turn everything around that you've done. Which means, to be honest, since you don't have the talent, the skill, the know-how, or the charisma, that means you have to work hard. Which is something apparently that's in the Brunel bloodline, in the gene pool that is, I guess it's like kryptonite to you people, or at least to you. I mean, you know, your father, from what I've been told, is a Marine, so obviously he has no, I mean, he was in the military in general, so obviously he's no stranger to hard work. So I don't know what exactly is your dysfunction and or malfunction, but that was always going to be the end game. One of the greatest tricks though that Phil ever pulled was convincing other people to do the hard work that he should have done himself. Hence the reason why any moment of success was fleeting, because at the end of the day there was nothing behind it. It was all a quick fix.
There are things that I think could be slow implementations that could help based off of your feedback, all right? So understand that, because a lot of people, I think, are getting frustrated. I don't understand. Phil said he needs help, and we all give him suggestions and comments on the forums, and I don't see any changes yet. Well, I can't just drop everything I'm doing and not put out videos and not make any money for the business to try to implement these changes right away. It's not going to happen. But what I could do is wait for some dead time, which typically always happens in January, right after my year-end series end. That's when I'll have some time to implement some changes, okay?
But usually by then, that's already too late. Because you're already going into a deficit into the holiday season, well, into the hardcore begging season / into the holiday season. Let's remix this for a minute. Okay, so hardcore gaming season, which is really the hardcore begging season as of now, because new games and releases can't save them. In 2016, you may have had a shot. Now, the 3 months leading into the hardcore begging season, he's already at a deficit. He's already down when it comes to YouTube revenue. Now he needs all the new game releases to help him out. And as he just said, I'm playing new release after new release after new release, but the viewership ain't there, which means it's putting him at a further deficit. So let's say now that 3 months turns into about 6. With that being said, now we head into the holiday season. He's roughly, let's be generous and say he's 5 or 6 months now in the hole, and now he expects the holiday season to save him. It won't. You know what I mean? Because if he couldn't garner any attention 5 months ago, what's the chances that he's going to be able to garner it now during the holidays? Because he's expecting people, who are invested in him to show their generosity to him financially. See how this is all starting to work out? And then when the generosity all gets all soaked up by the end of the year, then in January, he's going to implement new changes. In January, he's going to go ahead and have a new slate. This essentially, ladies and gentlemen, is a New Year's resolution that don't mean a goddamn to anybody at the end of the day. Your New Year's resolution, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't mean shit to anybody but you. Hence the reason why it's your resolution. Same concept. No one's expecting him to make, split business decisions. He's not mentally capable of doing that. At the same time, you putting stuff like that off for 2 or 3 months isn't going to help you anyway. And if any of you guys know who DSP and Darksydephil is, you know what I'm saying? If you know anything about him, you know in a couple months, he ain't going to remember that anyway. Or he'll have a batch of new excuses on why he couldn't do it. So at the end of the day, as Tevin points out quite a bit, praise be, he really enjoys wasting other people's time. He's doing all of this just to get you engaged so he can get you guys to rev up and get ready to send him the money. At the end of the day, or which would be through Patreon and his PayPal link. Outside of that, the rest of this is pretty much useless. That's all these updates are. All these emergency, urgent updates, the weekend previews, in a lot of ways, to be honest with you, all of that stuff was just pandering to Patreon. That's why it all stopped. Once he saw the amount of money he could make on Twitch, that's why Patreon went on the back burner for like 6 months. Yeah, he tried later on down the line to implement it, but he realized that, one, he was going to try to fuck people over in such a way that would be obvious and would get him called out on. And two, he didn't think it was worth the headache for a couple extra $100 a month when he can pull a couple of thousand on Twitch, until his little charity fundraiser bullshits back in late 2017, early 2018 got shut down by, not Machinima, ended up getting shut down by Twitch because he was being too goddamn blatant with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, realistically, he was being very, very blatant when he was going to do these fundraisers as he was doing it, as he was trying to do, I should say. And in actuality, just in case some of you guys don't remember, in like late 2017, right after Panda left his bitch ass, and he found out about, you know, his situation, which was back taxes, back state and occupation tax, which is even more ironic. I'm about to get sidetracked because that's what I do. It's funny how it's back state and occupation tax in 2017, but realistically, 2017 was probably the last year he actually paid taxes, because he's behind on his federal tax by like 2 years. Anyway, just something to think about. Semantics. Anyway, at the end of 2017, he threw his pity story on everybody and made himself a boatload of money. A shitload of money. And then he did a stream that one would consider a fundraiser, and it was pretty successful, netting him a couple of $1,000s. I don't have the exact amount at the moment. I know I got it written down somewhere. With that being said, his new lick going into 2018 was holding a charity stream every couple of months on Twitch to help drum up money, initially for taxes. Then he got greedy. Then he started to think, well, I'm going to do a charity stream every month. And I'm going to really get, and I'm going to, you know, and hey guys, I need that extra support every month. It's not going to be special and do it every 3 or 4 months. It's every month. And eventually Twitch came down on him and was like, yeah, shut the fuck up. Stop all that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure whoever it was, his contact on Twitch was basically like, hey, you need to reword that. You need to reword that, or you need to spread that shit out. You can't do both. You can't do both. You can't announce a charity stream and or a fundraising stream each and every goddamn month. And Phil, being the innovative businessman that he is, just dropped it all together. You went ahead and slapped my hand? Ow! Yeah. Okay, and then he just gave it up. And then he gave it up for like a year. Just because he didn't have a bit of innovation in him to maybe just change the wording. Now, granted, he decided to go ahead and try to scheme and do all that other shit later on down the line. But if he had done that, you know, when he initially got disciplined in air quotes, he could have still profited. Yet again, lack of innovation, lack of forethought, lack of a lot of things.
So anyway, let's talk, because I got other stuff to do tonight as well, gaming and stuff. I'm kind of squeezing this video in as an informative video for everyone. Let's talk business. First of all, Patreon, alright? In the month of October, Patreon was the most successful I've ever had. Now, I started on Patreon, I opened my Patreon, let me rephrase that, in January of 2015, but at that point, I didn't have anything set up, no perks, no rewards, anything, and a lot of people had pledged at that point. I was like, whoa, thanks for pledging, but understand, I have nothing set up yet. Officially, it launched in February of 2015, and I always had a funding goal of $1,250 as, like, the top...
Actually, we'll be picking that up and working through that which is part of the Pocket Check segment that I do on the channel. I think I'm like 3 videos in, where we actually go over that month by month, and we go over all my Tevin's older videos, that because he went over all of that for the first year, so it doesn't get any more pronounced than that. He gets it all from the pre-streams, from Twitter, some of the shit from his forums back in the day. It's all there. So Tevin makes it extremely easy and well compact. So that's what Pocket Check is. We'll end up going back into that soon. Actually, I'd like to try to finish that this year if I can. So you guys can see how he actually operated that goddamn thing, and in a lot of ways what led to Patreon's downfall, at least for Phil anyway.
Level funding goal on Patreon, and it's always been like that, despite what the front page of my Patreon says. Patreon.com/Darksydephil. Sometimes it used to say $12.50, now it says 10,000, or excuse me, 1,025. It's always the same amount. I've never changed it. It's $1,250 behind the scenes. Regardless of what it says on that page, I'm looking for $1,250 a month. That's a good supplementary amount to help me out.
Oh, and don't forget about all the stretch goals, Phil, that you have. So in actuality, it moved that goal from $1,200, which is the base amount for his Pay Me Tons, all the way up to about $2,000 and whatnot. Also, and I guess one could put that in air quotes, but that's really what it was. The Project 7 scam was run through Patreon too. So that's a thing. That is a thing.
This month, we far exceeded it by hundreds of dollars. We had the most amount of people ever.
Also, it's also kind of funny too that the reason why Patreon was even started was initially, the reason why Patreon even exists, for Phil anyway, is to compensate what he lost on Twitch the first time around. So keep that in mind as well.
To Patreon, over 200 unique pledgees. I think actually in the reality of the numbers, it was over 250 people actually pledged to my Patreon, which is way more than usual. Usually I have just under like 200, so that means a good 50, 60 people out of nowhere stepped up and pledged for the first time. Thank you for that, okay? Thank you for allowing me to get some extra cash at a time when I really need it. I'm telling you, I wasn't kidding. This is definitely going to help right now, especially it takes like a couple days, so probably 1 or 2 more days, and then Patreon's going to take all those pledges and put it into my bank account. Well, actually, they're going to put it into my PayPal, then I have to put that into my bank account, and it's going to help me out.
Now, this is one of the reasons why I also picked this. Not because of the goofy shit you see right there. Make a good screenshot, though. Anyway, it'll make a good screenshot. But also, this thing going on at current about these 2 PayPal accounts. Now, granted, you guys have been following me on the main channel. I already told you this because Phil already told us this. Phil told us that he always had 2 PayPal accounts. He didn't tell us what they were for, but he told us that he had 2. Now, people are being like, well, as you guys know, with his initial filing for bankruptcy, there was only... Actually, I don't think... No, there was a PayPal listed, I think. Yeah. No, actually it was. I don't think he listed PayPal at first. And then he did. And then eventually he went back and changed it. I can't remember now. I'm sorry. I can't remember. I haven't actually had a chance to really go over all that. But I can't remember if he listed PayPal at first or if he didn't list his second PayPal account. One of the two. I feel like he didn't list his PayPal at all at first. Then he got called out for it on Kiwi Farms and on Detractor Twitter, and then he listed it, and then later on, he ended up listing both of them. I feel like. And now people are wondering, does he have another PayPal account? Which he might. But people have been thinking about that for a while now, to be honest. That's nothing actually new. But I feel like that's kind of incidental, to be honest, because this idiot does have a bank account. An actual bank account, like a real grown-up bank account. So that leads to a couple questions. Indulge me for a minute, if you will. One, if we have a real-life grown-up bank account, why are we having our YouTube, our Twitch, our PayPal, our Teespring, our Patreon, our PayPal link? Why do we have all of that shit linked to PayPal and we don't have anything linked to our actual bank account itself? Secondly, if if he has a real life PayPal, if he really does have a grown up bank account, why does he what is he actually using it for? When he's told us before that he uses one of his PayPal accounts to buy games. He's actually done that live on stream. He didn't actually put all of his information in, but he bought he actually purchased a digital download game once, a few times actually, on stream using his PayPal debit card. Or using his PayPal account, I should say, that he linked to his PSN account. Matter of fact, the reason why I remember that so pronouncedly is he actually had a problem. He said that one time he tried to purchase a game, and it said that there was no funds in his account. And he said, that's not possible. I know there are funds in my account. Goes onto his phone while he's on stream, looks it up. Yeah, the money's there. I don't understand. And then he spent the next couple of days calling PayPal to figure out what the deal was. Eventually, they got it all straightened out. So I know of that one for sure, without a doubt. The second one was really more of a theory that I had. The reason my theory, I talked to James Lesser about this actually a little bit, as well as Ghostly Wins. Big ups to both of them. My theory was that he had a second PayPal account, so when all of his tips come into the first one, when all of his tips basically from the streams come in, he goes ahead and moves it from one PayPal account to another, so he can immediately start spending it. Hence the reason why he probably keeps racking up all these transaction fees, because I wonder, and keyword is I wonder, I don't know. Every time he gets tipped and all of that money accumulates over the span of a day, isn't there like some type of waiting period and or processing period before you can actually spend it? Now, I'm not saying they would keep him from it. Theoretically, it is his money. But if he spends it before the processing fee or before the processing time goes through completely, then they hit him with like a fine or a fee, not a fine, but a fee. Now, most of you are probably like, okay, GTG, that kind of makes a little bit of sense. But why would he feel so urgent to pull that money out anyway? What's his malfunction? Well, that goes back to King Tut. But actually, even before King Tut, that goes back to Mort, who went ahead and racked up like a couple hundred or 100 plus transactions of $2 a piece and then charged all of that back. And it was because of that Phil started to get really, really paranoid about donations, whether it was one large donation like Planet Jeff likes to do with his dead wife's money, or an accumulation of donations over the span of a night. He pulls all that out immediately so you can't charge back on him. The problem is, because he's not letting the process time go through, he can pull it all he wants. But if the chargeback goes through and the money ain't there, he's still considered responsible for that. To give you guys further evidence to kind of back all that up, go over there and talk to Wings. Wings will tell you that shit all day. Every time he gets charged back, Wings keeps $1,000 in his PayPal account. Excuse me. Or whatever the account that he's using to get his tips through Twitch, more likely PayPal. He keeps $1,000 into that account each and every month, just for chargebacks. And Wings doesn't pull his tips out right away. He doesn't do that. He leaves that shit in there unless it gets processed, just so he doesn't get fucked. But in the worst case scenario, he has that extra money to back it all up. So if Wings of Redemption has the forethought to keep $1,000 extra in there each and every month just in case shit happens, what the hell kind of fees and shit do you think this idiot right here has racked up? Just something to think about. And yet again, if you have a PayPal account, which you can use anywhere online, or you can use a PayPal debit account, which you can, or a debit card, I should say, which you can also use online or in person, what's kind of the point of his bank account? That same bank account, ladies and gentlemen, that's not on those bankruptcy documents, just to put that out there. I'm not saying, ladies and gentlemen, with all this being said, as me rambling along here, not to say that if there is a third PayPal account out there, I'm not saying that's unfounded. What I am saying is, this idiot has a real life grown man bank account. Maybe we should start looking closer at that. Maybe if he is hiding anything or everything, it's there. Because it's the one account that he doesn't speak about much in 2017, 2018, 2019, and in our current year of Gout. and it's not listed. At least as far as I know. As far as I know, his actual bank account is not listed on his bankruptcy documents. Only the PayPal's. Just something to think about, though.
Obviously, here early on in November when I don't have a lot of cash to pay my bills. Okay, so thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. So that's great news. That's positive, awesome news. The goal is to keep it that way. Okay, the ultimate goal with Patreon is not just to get one big month, but to try to keep that momentum going. So for those of you who pledged for the first time this month, I pledged $1, $5. Thank you. If you pledged a bigger amount, let's say some people pledged 20, 50, one person I believe even pledged $100. That was freaking awesome. Thank you so much. It's not about that all the time though. I understand some people, wow, I felt bad for Phil, let me help him out. Thank you, but I know you're not going to keep those kind of giant pledges going. So it's all about retaining the small. If you could, when you're gonna think about, okay, I have to reduce my pledge, if you could reduce it to $5, to $1, to something recurring, like I've said a million times, $1 a month for most of my viewer base. $1 a month is nothing. It's something frivolous. It's something you throw away or you waste. If you pledge to my Patreon for $1 a month, it adds up and it helps. Like I said, some 60-some people pledged for the first time. I had hundreds of dollars more in Patreon. It added up, okay? So thank you, and please consider keep going, because that's it. If I can retain the patrons that I have now, things are going to get better. They are. If I can keep an ever-growing patron user base, things are going to get better, and you won't have to hear me make videos about the business and views and all that. But right now, we're in that situation. All right? So,
but it's because of the amount of money that he made from Patreon, which gave him more incentive to keep leaning on Patreon. And then, but that's not what actually fucked him, though, to be honest. What screwed him over is he wasn't coming through on his obligations for Patreon when it came to games being played, which is where the major money makers were. That's where the big time pay piggies were at. Were making sure that certain games were being played for Patreon's choice. When he kept coming up with reasons why he couldn't play games, why he couldn't finish games, and when he tried to skew shit to get his own way, that's what fucked Patreon over. It wasn't the fact that people weren't continuing their contributions or even upping their contributions or lowering them. He uses those things as excuses later. He wasn't coming through on his obligations. He wasn't coming through on his commitments. That's what fucked him at the end of the day.
Oh, I'll take this off now because now people are going to say, Phil looks like an idiot with that hat. So, that's great. Thank you for that. How it works, because I know many of you are first-time patrons, you've never pledged to my Patreon before, and you're wondering, well, what do I do now, okay? I need to wait till the end of the week, and the reason is because there were some, maybe 12 to 15 people who pledged, but their pledges didn't clear for some reason. It could be that their information was off by a digit, it was a typo. It could be that they didn't have enough money in their account that they have linked to their Patreon. It could be that the bank declined. That happens sometimes. A bank will say, I don't recognize Patreon, and we want to make sure that you're actually wanted to make this, and it's not a fraudulent charge or something like that. So, you may be one of those people. If you are, I messaged you. I sent you a PM on Patreon.com, and I already got 3 responses from people who said, oh, let me fix it, and already their pledges have cleared, okay? So I usually give it a week because I don't want to be jumping the gun, and these people aren't aware, and then I deal out perks and everything, and now they come back at the end of the month, oh, what happened? You know what I mean? I want to give them at least a few days to respond or to fix their pledges before I action all the perks for the month. So this Sunday, which Sunday night will be the 6th, so Sunday night, November 6th, I am going to take all the data, okay, all of the data, and start divvying out perks. If you pledged any amount, $1 or more, your name is going to be in the credits crawl for the weekend preview all month for the month of November. Okay, that's the text thank you that I give for that level of perk. If you pledge $5 or more, I'm going to send you a private message on Patreon.com asking for your information so I can get you upgraded on the KingOfHate.com forums. So, if you want to participate in the forums, if you want to participate in this month's event, which is the Indies Mini Marathon, you want to nominate and vote on games, you have to register for TheKingOfHate.com right now. Get registered in there, get your account all set up and confirmed, so in this weekend when I send you that PM, you could send me your information, and then I could get your account upgraded, okay? Similarly, if you pledged I believe $10 or more, you don't have to take any action. When I do Ask the King later this month, which is actually going to be on Thanksgiving, which is Thursday, the 24th of November, I'm going to give you a verbal shout out in my Ask the King by default. You don't have take any action for that, okay? If you pledge $20 or more, well, you're going to get your questions answered on Ask the King. So what I'm going to do is send you a PM again this Sunday night on Patreon.com asking for your data so I can get you into that elite upper class of people on my website, and then you'll have access to this special forum where you can post up your questions for the November Ask the King, and they'll definitely get answered, all right? And then if you pledged $50 or more, thank you, first of all. Holy crap, that's a lot of money. I will again send you a PM on Patreon.com this Sunday asking for your questions and giving you some criteria by which you can go on to ask me some questions for a private Q&A video, okay? And those typically, I say 15 to 20 minutes, but a lot of them have run way longer than that. It all depends on what you ask me and how much I have to say about it, okay?
Which we found that out later when Spamgate happened, and he lost DSP Gaming for a little while, and then he ended up getting it back. Right, and then he enabled all of his videos right away, and then all these videos came up. All the Q&A videos, I should say, came up out of nowhere. He had them all privated on his account, and all that shit got flooded. Let's see, Bill Purnell has a few of them. I think LSB has all of them. Mr. Huffstuff may have a few. I think we grabbed a couple of them. I'm sure they're floating. You'll find them. There's a, like I said, you'll find them. I know for sure. Lightside Bill has a playlist for it, and I think Bill Purnell may have a list, may have a playlist for it as well. So if you ever want to see any of those, or if I ever decide to go any of those later on for like requests or whatever, you can. Those are two channels for sure that I know you can find them.
And by the way, anyone who's ever done a private Q&A video or ever gotten one, they've always loved them. I always get feedback and people say, thank you so much, I love the video you made me, okay? So, to give you some perspective, people love that perk level. So all of it basically starts this Sunday night. Keep your eyes and ears open on Patreon.com for some private messages from me because I need data back from you as soon as possible. Now, once I start getting all of this data, all right, then I start to action the perks, meaning, okay, I got a bunch of people who responded, let me send that to my webmaster, and he'll process these upgrades or whatever, or, oh, I got 2 or 3 people who I got their information for their private Q&A video, let me sit down one night when I have some time and spend a couple hours filming those videos, all right? So understand, it's not instantaneous, it's all manual, it's just me and my webmaster, that's it. There's no staff of people working behind the scenes to make this happen. It's basically me just taking time out from doing my normal stuff.
In actuality, why do they need to go through you anyway? Why don't they just go directly through the webmaster? Like, let's go ahead and work this out. So, as the only thing that Phil really does, to be honest, is sign off on who pledged so they can get the upgrades for their account and who he needs to do Patreon videos for. That's it. Oh, and send people thank you messages or whatever, which are probably all the same generic messages, insert name, done, done, done. So that's pretty much it. Essentially, the webmaster is the one who's doing all the upgrades, making sure everybody is on the forum where they need to be, they have the right access and availability, and so on and so forth. So in actuality, why isn't the webmaster actually going through approving all of that, and then they go ahead and take that step? Why is Phil kind of proofreading through all of it and then sending it all to the webmaster? He could skip a step. And if you trust somebody enough to run your website for you and all the fucking grimy ass shit that happened behind the scenes with that nonsense, you would think you would be able to trust them at least a little bit with the fact that, okay, all right, Phil here's the list of everybody who pledged to his Patreon. These are the list of names of the people who need to have certain access to certain things. Got it. I don't think that's too much to ask for. Just saying, just throwing it out there. Or here's a dummy email address, or not even a dumber email address. Here's a spotter email, all right, that only him and his webmaster have access to, and all of their information gets shot there and whatnot through Phil sends a chain of dummy PMs out to people, and all that shit relays back to this kind of burner, not really burner, but to this dummy email. They both have access to it, and then the webmaster goes through there. He can just completely sidestep Phil altogether and just get it all done. All this extra micromanaging is kind of silly, but more importantly than that, initially, when Phil told you about all these perks and all this, that, and the third, he leads you to believe that he's the one who's actually doing all the work, that this is very much a one-man show. He only brought the webmaster into that shit later on down the line because, well, in actuality, he knows he can't get all of that done. So he had to kind of insert the webmaster into that situation. But before all that, it would lead one to believe, it would lead one to think that Phil was doing all of that on his own. Seems a bit dishonest. False advertising.
To get it done. And it's not instant. I wish I could make it instant, but I'm not rich, and I don't have a staff of people to do it. I know a lot of other people who have Patreons. They have all these other people working for them. I don't, okay? So it is what it is. I promise.
Well, that's because you don't have any friends, and two, you wouldn't split the profit with anybody.
By the middle of this month, so by the mid-November, everyone who's...
That, and you have, what, like 60 plus people who was joining into your Patreon, or whatever the number is. Most of those people have like 600. There are some people who have 6,000. So yeah, you kind of need to have other people do it. But then again, the correlation between this and what happened with Spoonie and his Patreon is uncanny. I need to go over that one day.
Go to perk, will get it, or at least I'll have information for you on when you're gonna get it. All right, forum upgrades will be done by then, which means by then you'll be able to nominate, and then by the end of the month, the last week of the month, vote on what indie games I'll be playing in the marathon that's coming up probably, I'm thinking very late November, like right near the end of the month, or maybe that first week of December, a little bit in. We'll see. I want to play it by ear. I don't want to promise you one thing because we have to see how everything's going with all of my playthroughs and everything. All right, and I also want to schedule it for a time when it makes sense. Like, no, I'm not going to do it on Thanksgiving or on Black Friday or something like that, because I know a lot of people will be around for that, okay? So, that's awesome. That's as much information I think as I can give you right now, and I hope that you understand how it's working, and I hope that this is transparency for you, so you're not sitting around wondering when's everything going to be actioned and when am I going to get all my perks and all of that, all right? Now, November. Let's talk November, because the bottom line is a lot of people pledged for October, but I need to try to get them a hook so that they'll stay for November, right? And of course, the hook is, let me keep making videos and do this as a job rather than have to go cancel YouTube, basically, which I know a lot of people don't want me to do. But outside of that, I also want to give you something back that you're going to like, okay? So for November, the new goal, and by the way, I apologize, I did not set this up ahead of time. I screwed up. Hold on. That's not it. This is it. The new goal for November, Patreon, is the return of the Multiplayer Madness event. I did this earlier this year once as a Patreon goal. It was hugely successful. People loved this event. They had so much fun playing games with me in a controlled environment where there was no trolling and it was all scheduled so people knew exactly where they could be and they were guaranteed to play with me, unlike a lot of the...
Now, a couple things. One, if this thing was so successful early on in the year, why did he have to wait till November to do it again? First thing. Secondly, in a controlled environment, that doesn't sound fun at all. Sounds like a bunch of people walking on glass and eggshells. No trolling. You're guaranteed to come in and play with me. You guys are guaranteed to hang out with your boy Phil. I mean, yet again, this goes back to what I've been saying about how he really wanted, and he still does, he really wants people to be invested in him, not the games. He just wants people to be invested in him. And that's really sad. I don't know if mommy didn't hug him enough. I don't know if daddy didn't take him serious enough. I don't know. And whatnot. I pray that my children aren't failures, so hopefully I don't have to worry about that. But I don't know. But this also goes back to another thing that I've said, that he, more than the money, excuse me, more than the money, he needs the emotional support more than anything. He likes the emotional praise more than anything. If Phil could be back on top, so to speak, or not even on top, if he was in the middle like he was, where he always was, and he was never any higher than that, if he could be right back where he was, you know, in 2011, he'd be happy with that. Now, granted, his money that he was making in 2011 is a drop in a bucket compared to what people are, you know, make now. You know what I'm saying? There's 17 and 18-year-olds on Twitch that pull, you know, 6 figures a year now. So that's nothing if you think about it. But if he could make that, he'd be happy. But if he had the type of attention, if he had what he thought was the type of clout if he could feel like, this is Phil's word, not mine, if he could feel like he was revered and whatnot, and people really gave a damn about what he said, that pretty much outweighs anything financially. And that's really what Phil keeps chasing. And that's why he needs the detractors, trolls, haters, and critics out of the picture. He thinks if he can get all of us off YouTube, because he ain't already done what he did on Twitch, if he could get all of us off YouTube, he thinks eventually it'll all come back together. And it won't. It won't. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, like, I just found out the other day. Well, I didn't find out. I've known this for a while. But there's some, I was watching a anime podcast with one of the members of GTG Network and Productions. She was invited onto this podcast with all these big names and shit. And we were really happy for her. And as they were going along talking or whatnot, someone was like, hey, such and such a streamer right now, I'm going to go ahead and book out. Now, when they said such and such, I couldn't actually make it out. It turned out to be Tevin. And they were like, oh, for real? Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and, we'll finish up here and then we'll close up and so on and so forth. These are people who have channels, you know what I'm saying, like, that are up there. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about 100,000 plus channels and whatnot. And if they're willing to go ahead, and not really willing, not like they were just ending the podcast for whatever, but if they were willing to go ahead and close up shop on Twitch, where they already had, I think they had something like 15,000 people watching. If they were going to close up shop to go and watch Tevin stream, what does that tell you about the type of attention Tevin garners? So let me go ahead and remix this a little bit. If 5 people, and I'm not going to name them, nor will I put the number of them that are out there, but let's just say 5. If 5 of them were like, okay, cool, let's go ahead and finish this up, let's go ahead and check out that stream in there. How do you think they're going to feel, right, if Tevin ends up getting knocked off of YouTube? And within that fan base, right, if any of them know who Tevin is or even follows Tevin's content, how the hell do you think they're going to feel if Tevin gets bumped up off the platform, off YouTube? I don't think it's going to work out for Phil and his little pay piggies. It probably wouldn't work out at all. That just gives you an idea, or a very vague, but that's done on purpose. But that gives you guys a very vague scope of how much reach someone like a Tevin, someone like maybe an LSB, a James the Lesser, an Agent Proper, an Evil AJ. That gives you guys a Snortbucks, certainly. Snortbucks, Mighty D, so on and so forth. That gives you guys an idea of what kind of reach these people have. You know what I mean? And it goes past the detractor community. You know what I mean? So, and that's what Phil could never have. And I think that's what bothers Phil, is that he never could have that multicultural, so to speak. Like, I know you guys know what I mean when I say this. He doesn't have this multicultural type community with different people from different factions of the community who are involved, or even big people in other factions of YouTube. Phil always wanted that, and he never could garner it. Ever. And the majority of them, like I said, are just kids, wheelchair symbols, or man babies like him. That's it. That's what his army, in air quotes, is consisted of. Nobody else. And then there's so much gay ops that goes on in the detractor community as well as over there in Phil's community. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Everybody just LARPs all of us up together. You know what I'm saying? That's why Kiwi Farms fought so hard to make sure that they were separated from both, because they didn't want to get LARPed into all that. They were there to laugh at the trash fire, not actually be entrenched in it. Yet again, I'm just trying to illustrate the scope that some of these individuals have, which is much further than anything Phil could ever have. You know what I mean? And one of the main reasons is not only the fact that these people are talented and people enjoy their content and whatnot, but it's not a fucking controlled environment. They're not there to manipulate a situation to make you see things their way. They put it out there the way they see it, and you can agree with it or disagree with it. Phil can't have that. Phil cannot have that. That doesn't work to his narrative. That doesn't work for his frame of mind. And more importantly, it doesn't build a community that he can control. And at the end of the day, that's what it really comes down to. Being praised, having control, and then getting the money. Just throwing it out there. DSP News.
Times when I used to do multiplayer events, it was just completely random, willy-nilly, and there was sometimes upwards of 100 people who wanted to play, and a bunch of people never got to play because there's just too many people who wanted to play, and, you know, I couldn't fit it in. So, the way this is going to work is if I hit the funding goal for the month of November, and by the way, just it should be said, like, asterisk, actually, let me go back to the camera here for a second.
Before you do that, let me jump in. If people paid their hard-earned money, right, paid their hard-earned money to be able to play with you on this, on your multiplayer madness event or whatever, and people who threw down money couldn't get in, even though they pledged, that's bullshit on you. If you got to play it all day to make sure every single person gets in there, then guess what? You're playing all day, Phil. I mean, you're going to just flip all of that footage anyway into content on YouTube no matter what. So who gives a fuck? Matter of fact, if you have to make your matches shorter, say, for example, let's say he's playing Call of Duty. Okay, you guys get 3 lobbies with me, and then we rotate, and then all 5 of you guys get rotated out, and then we bring in 5 more. If you got to do it that way, you got to do it that way. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Whoever it was that put their $5 in, they should be able to participate because that's what they paid for. But Phil just told you guys that so many people pledged and so many people showed up that he couldn't play with everybody. Well, guess what? When he does this one right here and on November 30th of 2016, those people who couldn't make it into the first one, they better be the first ones to get into the next one, into this one, or that one, I should say. Sorry. They should be the priority. And does anybody want to go ahead and hit X the doubt on that? Do you really think someone from earlier in the year who missed out on their shot to go ahead and play a multiplayer, to play in the multiplayer event or the MME with Phil, do you think they were the priority the next time around? No. No. Do you think any of them really even spoke up? Maybe a few, but not all of them. And why was that, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, well, you know, I understand Phil's really popular and I couldn't get in. It's okay though, Phil, I'll pledge again and hopefully I make it in this time. So what is that, ladies and gentlemen? Is that you being invested into the content, or is that you being invested in the person?
Little asterisk here about this monthly goal for November. If everyone who pledged to Patreon keeps their pledges right now, we've already hit the goal. Like, it's done. The only way that we could not hit the goal is if a bunch of people say, well, I'm done, I can't pledge again, and they remove their pledges, or people who have giant pledges all reduce it to $1, and, you know, it's a ton of those, which I don't think there are. We're almost guaranteed to hit this goal already with the amount of people who are now pledging to my Patreon, all right? So I just want to throw that out there. I'm feeling very positive about it. There is a slim chance maybe we won't, but here's the deal. Here's what it is, this multiplayer event, okay?
So you like how he threw that in there? Hey, guys, remember how I told you guys early on in this video, and when I say you guys, I mean Phil, when he told you guys early on, okay, guys, I want to try to keep Patreon right where it's at. You know what I'm saying? It's a tremendous amount of help, and I really need this money. And I understand that some of you guys need to lower your pledges or whatever, and that's fine. Do what you got to do. But as long as we can keep this amount each and every month moving forward, we'll be straight. Then all of a sudden we go into this MME, the multiplayer madness event, and he throws in the caveat at the end. Hey guys, if we keep the way Patreon's being set up right now, we've already hit the goal. All you guys got to do is commit your money, and we're fine. We're straight. We're good. If any of you guys deviate, even an iota, even a cent, then it might not happen, guys, and that would suck. And ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, and like I said, we'll go over this during Pocket Check when we get back into that. What happens if Phil doesn't hit the $1,200 goal, or the $1,250 goal, or the $1,500 stretch goal, or the $1,700 goal? Sorry, I'm actually getting ahead of myself. What happens if Phil doesn't hit the $1,250 goal back then? The event doesn't happen. Okay, that sucks. We didn't hit the goal. Well, Phil, you were only off by like $25, Phil. Why don't you go ahead and just... Excuse me. Why don't you just do us that solid, Phil? Oh, well, see, guys, I can't do that. Because if that's the case, then there's no incentive that you guys will ever hit the goal ever again if I let you guys go this one time. Even if it is only $10. Sorry, guys, I can't do it. You guys have to hit the goal. I have to stay committed to myself, right? I'm saying this word for word. He said this before. I have to stay committed to myself when it comes to Patreon. If not, what incentive will you guys really have to hit the goal? Okay, Well, Phil, what happens to the money? Oh, well, I keep that money, guys. You know, it's not my fault that you guys couldn't hit the goal. Hopefully you guys hit it next month. Yeah, that's what happens when the goal wasn't hit. He pockets the money, and you guys try again next month. It is what it is. Just like Evo 2005. Oh, Phil, you came out here and you failed. Good luck. Hopefully you can make it back next year. Hopefully you can go ahead and win all those qualifiers, and you can get it done. Sorry, no refunds. Just throwing it out there. Now, there's a couple times where he made some exceptions, but we'll talk about that later.
So if we hit the goal for the month of November, I'm going to have a special event in late December and early January. I'm going to have a regular date and a makeup date, by which it's not going to be one day, it's going to be multiple days, by which I'm going to be playing multiplayer games with patrons who pledge $5 or more and tell me they want to play multiplayer games with me. Now, the games that I'm already including are Battlefield 1 on the PlayStation 4, Overwatch on the PlayStation 4, Gears of War 4 on the Xbox One. I figure that's the best Xbox One title to do since it's an Xbox One exclusive and most people who own an Xbox One probably bought it. Titanfall 2 on the PlayStation 4, and new edition.
Actually, that brings up a really good point. Ladies and gentlemen, for all of you who participate, or all those who did participate, I should say. I just speak in the past tense. In these events, right? Keep in mind, you have to purchase the game if you don't already have it. Now, with that being said, I want you to let that sit in your mind for a minute. Let that go ahead and kind of swim through your noodle for a minute. That you have to purchase the game, or hopefully you already have the game, when you go ahead and pledge for this multiplayer event. Now, with that being said, let me add this onto it. What happens to the people who didn't have the game, but purchased it and pledged to be part of his multiplayer event, and then didn't make it into that event? Now, you ain't sat there and pledged $5, then possibly paid $60 for the game, and you still didn't get to play with him. And then, more than likely, when he does this new one, that game that some of the games that were part of that original lineup won't be part of the next one. Yikes. See why I say he was a cancer on the industry? I mean, he was certainly a cancer to his own fan base, but he was kind of a fuckboy with the industry too. Wow.
This is a new one, ladies and gentlemen. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered were just donated by a viewer of mine, and those also are being added. So you're going to have upwards of 6 games you're going to have an opportunity to play multiplayer with me in. I'm sure most of my viewership who play multiplayer games are probably going to get one of these video games over the holidays, and will be able to participate in this event, okay? So allow me to explain how this works. I don't want any confusion. Let me come back to the camera. If we hit the funding goal, that's number one, because it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to be probably 2-3 days in late December and probably 2-3 days in early January where I'm just going to be doing multiplayer with viewers. That's it. That's going to be my day. It's going to be playing with the viewers, all right? So if we hit the funding level, I'm going to take those days away to do this event. If you pledge $5 or more, what's going to happen is in early December, you're going to be posting up in a thread. You're going to tell me what games you're interested in playing, okay? And you're going to tell me what dates, because I'll have rough dates set up by then. Either late December or early January. On those dates, what dates do you think you'd be available to play, okay? And then going based off of that, I'll get a rough idea. Okay, seems like a lot of people can play Call of Duty on this day, so I'll schedule a session for that day. Seems like a lot of people can play Overwatch on this date and time, so we'll do that. So that's how it's going to work. Over December, people will be posting up their availability who qualified for this event, and we're going to have this big multiplayer event. And yes, I will have voice chat on for this event. So unlike most multiplayer where I have it disabled, I'll be communicating with the people who are involved in this event. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I tell you, last time I did it, I didn't know how it was going to turn out. It turned out amazing.
You're literally paying for interaction. This is no different than you guys paying Phil for a shout out on his Twitch channel. Yikes.
Amazingly well. It was so much fun to communicate with my viewers who were there to have fun and play games and
communicate. You mean talk to them? Why can't you just say talk to my viewers? I understand they're a bunch of faceless ATMs to you, but Jesus Christ, Phil, you can humanize them a little bit. Fucking asshole.
Win. Rather than these idiots who always show up during my public events to troll and be dicks and just ruin it for everyone. It was so much fun teaming up with people and playing. So, I really feel that this is a great motivational event for, you know, November, and I think a bunch of people who maybe normally wouldn't have pledged said, I want to play with Phil, and I never got to play with him. Let's do it, and they'll pledge $5 to try to get into the event. So chances are we are going to do the event as long as most people don't remove their pledges, all right? So don't feel like, oh, I'm going to pledge $5, but the event might not happen. More than likely, it's definitely happening. I mean, just take a look. I would have to lose so many $100 of funding at this point in order for it to not happen. I don't think that's going to happen.
You know what I just thought about? You know, he should have done a stretch goal for an additional $1,200. And if they hit it, then you could actually have a multiplayer madness event with Phil and Panda. That would have probably been pretty good. I mean, most people might have, well, some people might have actually paid for that, but not everybody. But now that I think about that even more, Catherine really needs to start streaming again or making content, something. I'm sure she has something to say. But on top of that, if he was to do an event like this again, which he probably won't because he's a fucking coward, but if he was to, just no voice, no talking to people, basically. It would be kind of cool if he went ahead and picked a multiplayer where him and Catherine and like 3 or 4 other people could jump in and whatnot and just mute them. And then him and Catherine kind of just play on stream and whatnot, and then 4 people are playing with them. Now, granted, it's going to suck because obviously they're not going to be talking and we won't be able to hear them talking, but that would probably be a pretty good draw, especially since we haven't seen Catherine in like, I don't know, like a year. You know? It might be a thing. Oh well. I might be a tad bit too ambitious. Or optimistic.
Okay. So, that's the event for November. Pledge, you got till the end of November, November 30th, midnight, to pledge $5 or more to qualify to be in on that event. More info forthcoming. Obviously, 6 games is a lot of multiplayer games to be juggling around. All right, but we'll see. I mean, some other people have expressed, well, what about Street Fighter V and what about Rocket League? I'll be honest, I don't think there's going to be a lot of interest for those games. Those games are kind of played out. Almost no one plays Street Fighter V anymore besides the hardcore fighting game community.
Didn't know what the fuck he was talking about there, but whatever.
It died out. The game is a motherfucking failure. The thing didn't even sell more than 1.4 million copies. It didn't even sell 100,000 copies from the month.
Now keep in mind, I want you guys to take into account, this is the same retard who thought that it was going to be, that Street Fighter V was essentially going to be the second coming of Super Turbo. Just throwing that out there. Another caveat, though, to be honest, sorry for that snap there, is that his largest growth, as it pertains to the channel, for the most part, or DSP Gaming, well, maybe not his largest, but a massive amount of, a large part of his growth, I should say, of DSP Gaming was off Street Fighter 4. You can still play Ultra Street Fighter 4. I do. There's a lot of people that do. But he won't. So he won't play 5, and he won't play Ultra 4? He just wants to keep playing Super Turbo. This is something that Tevin pointed out a couple of nights ago. He's a fucking idiot. And he swears to God that the game has died out, yet people still play it. People that he knows from his old FGC days still play it. And have streams where a couple thousand people show up. But the game's dead, though. The game's dead, though. It's dried up. And Rocket League is a thing. I didn't even know that they actually had an actual pro gaming league until recently. I didn't even know that. I saw that in a video from like 11 months ago. The fuck? I mean, but then again, you know, people take, if they'll make a league for any game just about these days.
Of April to, I think, September. So just think about that. 6 fucking months, and it didn't sell 100,000 copies. The game is dead. No one touches it anymore. So I don't think there's any reason for me to even worry about that. I think more people will be playing the hot new games from the holidays, right? All right, fair enough. So that's the deal with Patron.
That's not even an excuse. That's not even enough to even talk it off. But whatever. Let the pig think he has his victory. But that was sad.
Patreon and what's going on right now. All right. So that's great news. That's positive news, right? If you're pledging to Patreon, great. I appreciate that. Now, some people have said, well, Phil, how else can we contribute besides Patreon? Well, some people recently have been donating games. Now, this is something that I've almost never asked for. Actually, I've never asked for donations, ever. I always just buy.
You're a liar. We've already gone over that. He was accepted. He was having money sent to him through his PayPal account back in 2009. I've never accepted donations. I've never accepted games. Shut that shit the fuck up. I ain't caught you lying. I've already done that video. I had already gone through that video. Yikes. How dare you? How dare you, sir?
The games because I could afford it. At this point, like I've been telling everyone, I dropped about $1,000 on games alone in October. Between the PSVR, all the games for the PSVR, there was Mafia 3, Gears of War 4, WWE, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Battlefield 1, oh god, and there was one or two more. And they're not on my calendar, so now I can't remember.
That's not $1,000 in games. And even with... That's not $1,000 in games. Even if you throw the VR in, which was over $300, obviously, I still don't think that's $1,000. It's probably close, but I don't think it's $1,000.
Top of my head. So we're talking lots of money. I mean, just the PSVR alone, I spent over $600, plus all those games I just mentioned. So there you go.
I thought the VR was $300 though. Now it was $600. Hold on a second. Well, I mean, I'll keep playing this, but let me do some research. I'm actually going to try to be diligent about this.
That's where all the money went, right? So people feeling, number one, obviously feeling worried about me because they know that they want me to keep covering games, but it's costing me a lot of money to do so. And number two, kind of saying, well, I want to see Phil cover this game, but he seems like he's on the fence about it. They've started to donate games. A viewer of mine named Forrest actually donated Titanfall 2, which is why I'm playing it, because I was not going to play it. I said, you know what? Because things are financially tight, and because I wasn't super duper interested in it, I was going to skip it, but a viewer named Forrest donated it to me, and now I played through the campaign, I played through multiplayer.
Okay, so, according to one of your best friends in the world, Google, it says right here that on October 13th of 2016, Sony released the PlayStation VR with the price of $399 in the US, 399 euros in Europe, and let's see, 349 in the UK, and then 4,980 in Japan. Obviously, this is all of their currencies respectively, but the US, it was 400, over 400. So, huh? Like what? And right now you can still get it right now for $300. Jesus Christ. Not paying that. Fuck all that. Let's see what else. Let's see here. Huh. Look at that. The VR set head is still worth quite a bit of money actually. Let's see here. Interesting. Anyway, sorry. The point being, though, ladies and gentlemen, is that when the system initially came out, it cost about $400, but he just said $600. So where'd the other $200 go? Just out of curiosity. Just asking. Now he might actually be a little bit closer to $1,000. I don't know if he's still there, but I mean, you calculate tax and everything, which is kind of hard because Phil doesn't believe in paying taxes, so that's a thing too.
Last night, and I'm actually going to play it again tonight. So there you go. I wouldn't even touch Titanfall 2 or know anything about it unless this guy donated. He did, and now there you go. Full coverage of the game, and I'm actually going to be reviewing it tomorrow night. Okay? Same thing just happened with Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. I've been saying all year, listen, I want to play Modern Warfare Remastered. I love Modern Warfare 1. It's one of my favorite FPS games of all time. I actually remember at the time when it released, I dropped Halo 3 to play it hardcore for like 4 months, and I was highly ranked, and I loved the effing game. Okay, even the campaign. I loved the campaign. Everything about Modern Warfare 1 was an amazing game. But you can't get it. You can't get the remastered version unless you buy Infinite Warfare. And everything I saw about Infinite Warfare looked terrible. I didn't like the gameplay trailers, the multiplayer, nothing. I liked nothing about this game that I saw. And I said, I'm not spending $60 to get another game for another $20. You should just be able to fucking buy the game you want. And it's a scam by Activision. And I don't have the money to burn to waste $60 on something I'm not really interested in to play the other thing. All right? Well, the last few weeks, people finally started listening, because I've been saying this for about 6 months. I'm not even lying. I was saying it all year. All of a sudden, people started listening. And they were like, oh shit, Phil's not playing Call of Duty this year? That sucks. We like seeing him cover it every single year. Even though it's not a great game, we like seeing it. So that way, if we're
not a great game, he's just bad at it. He don't have any aim or nothing. Keep in mind, his aim was a little... like according to Panda, like everything else on him, it's a little bit better. His aim was a little bit better back then compared to now. His aim's all over the fucking place now. But he was never really good at those. He was terrible at Battlefield and whatnot. At least I felt he was. You can ask Tevin though. Tevin kind of followed that really serious because I think Tevin was, he might still be actually, a big Battlefield 4 head. But at least the Call of Duty footage I've seen of Phil was outright fucking terrible. Just horrible aim, no situational awareness at all. Just really, really, really bad. He literally was your walking meat grinder. He was just someone who constantly just walked into people's bullets. That's all he did. You know what I mean? And a lot of the time that he got kills, I have to say this, even though people hate it when I do, he did catch people slipping. He caught Phil would, and he still does, to be honest. He pops up in places in Call of Duty that you just kind of don't expect. So a lot of the people he catches slipping, because he does catch them slipping, they've already killed 2 or 3 people. You know what I'm saying? They're on, like, you know what I'm saying, on a triple kill. They come around a corner. Phil is sitting there yelling at the chat for something, and in one of the shining moments, right? The shining moments that the sun shines on his bacon, all of a sudden he's able to pull his trigger in time and he kills him. It's literally what it was. You know what I mean? I probably should have described the situation a little better. It's not like he's out here like some like puma or something waiting to pounce. It's just he literally just catches people off guard.
Not playing it, we get to see if the game was good. We can compare it against previous years, and we love it when Phil covers the big release.
The Gouty Viper actually sounds fitting.
Just like that, even if he doesn't necessarily enjoy them as much, it's good for research purposes, which is part of my videos, is information, right? Well, a viewer has stepped up named Tom. Hold on a second, because I forget if you told me to call him Tom or Thomas, and I apologize already in advance, sir. Tom. He said, you say it's from Tom. Tom has donated the big-ass edition. I think it's called the Legacy Edition or something like that. The Legendary Edition, whatever it's called, the expensive edition, digitally, of Call of Duty. So I have both Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered, and I'm starting playing them this Friday. So again, this was a game that I wouldn't have played. I was not going to drop $80 for it. And now I have it. I'm going to be covering it all weekend. In fact, I'm going to have a poll up Thursday night to see, gee, who wants to play? Or excuse me, not who wants to play. What do you want to see me play? Do you want to see multiplayer first?
I like how he went ahead and made that correction. No, I don't want to fucking play with you ass clowns. What do you guys want to see me play so you guys can give me those clicks on YouTube? Well done, Phil. Well done. Antisocial to the very end.
Campaign first of which game? Infinite Warfare or Modern Warfare? Which one? So it's going to be all this week coverage of...
Who cares, idiot? You're going to play them both anyway. Just pick one.
Call of Duty, thanks to this viewer, all right? So, let me put it to you this way. If you're interested in seeing a game, all right, and I haven't mentioned that I'm going to cover it, or I have mentioned that I'm going to cover it, but you're willing to maybe step up, I would like to donate. Great. I mean, it's anything that...
But this wouldn't be the first time, and it won't be the last. I'm sure there's plenty of times over the years that people have donated games. Actually, sorry about that. I know people hate when I kind of snap like that. It's part of my personality, ladies and gentlemen. People have actually loaned Phil games to play. And he was supposed to give it back, obviously, after he was done playing it. Come to find out, he doesn't play it, and he's been sitting on those games for years. He's done that, too. He has a history of doing that. He's the ultimate piece of human garbage. He really fucking is. And like I said, him being donated games or donated money to buy games isn't anything new either. I don't know why he's acting like that's something that's just, oh, it's it's not fallible that could have been a thing. You know what I'm saying? Phil would never do that. Phil asked us for money? No, not at all. Not at all. Phil asks us to donate stuff to him? Nah, not at all. Phil asking us to send him stuff behind the scenes and then won't return it? Nah, not at all.
So let's money that I have to spend is going to help me right now. Okay, now you guys and gals already know some of the games I'm planning on playing coming up shortly. Games like Dishonored 2, Watch Dogs 2, Pokemon Sun and or Moon. I think I'm gonna
actually, now that I think about it, Pokemon Dishonored 2. Didn't you rage quit the DLC? Actually, I'm pretty confident you rage quit the DLC. I don't know if you even finished that. Huh? I have to look. I'm pretty sure you did.
Get Moon. By the way, I've been thinking about it. Final Fantasy 15 coming December. You got Dead Rising 4. You've got The Last Guardian. I think that's it for them, because then we'll be so caught up with the year-end stuff that I'll be super busy. Okay. So that being said, that's just a few of the games that I'm planning on covering. Now, someone without my permission, and this is what I want to warn you against, without my permission or even speaking to me about it first, someone sent me a code for Duke Nukem 3D, the remake that they made in October. Remember I mentioned this a few weeks ago. I said I'd like to play this game.
Now, the only reason why it's without his permission, that whole nonsense is, one, he wanted to maintain control. We already talked about this. But two, he doesn't want to feel like he's obligated to play it. You guys want an example? I'm good for that. So, when Phil was around the time that he was doing the VR stuff for the for the PlayStation VR, he said, I think it was a Star Trek game, or it was some type of sci-fi game, that he said he was interested in playing. Someone on stream donates the money for it, like $50, $60. No, maybe it was $100. I think they gave him 100. I don't think the game was 100 though. But here, let's remix this a little bit. He said he expressed the interest of playing a game. Someone sent him the money for the game. He said, "I really appreciate you doing that, man. But like, when you send me a tip, it's my money. I can do what the fuck I want with it." And I appreciate you sending it to me, and I appreciate you wanting me to play that game, but I could really use this money for something else. So that's what I'm going to do. So, yeah. You know what I'm saying? When you send me a tip and add something onto it or tack something onto it, you're making me obligated to you for some reason, and I don't like that. And yes, I expressed that I wanted to play the game, but yet again, you really need to talk to me behind the scenes, and we can work something like that out. I really need this money right now, and yeah, I'm going to use this money for what I want to use it for. Sorry, you know, it is what it is. The chat started to turn on his ass, and he's like, well, eventually he ended up breaking down. He said, oh, well, I can go ahead and send you the money back. You know what I mean? I appreciate what you were trying to do, and so on and so forth. I really need this money, but I don't want to yada, 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 snort. I'll send it back. The guy sends him another $50 or $60 and says, no, Phil, don't worry about it. Keep it. I sent you the money because I would have liked to see you review it and play it, but no problem. He's like, are you sure? Oh, man, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. It means a lot, man. Like I said, I really need this money, man. And I'm sorry that I may have given you the wrong impression or something along those lines. Those aren't his exact words because he's not as genuine. But, I very much appreciate it, though, man. I really need this money. And then the guy sends him another 50 or 60 on top of that, which gives you an idea of what kind of people are in Phil's fan base. But that's how that situation played out. It's something to think about.
But I'm so busy, there's no way that I could do it right now. Someone just sent me a code for it, and I'm like, well, thanks, but I really don't have time to play it right now. And you know what happens with these games, if you don't play them right away when they're new, a lot of people don't care about them.
And it's that type of mindset is the reason why this ass clown is looked at as the shill, looking for clout, looking for all those things, because that's exactly what he is. All he's done his whole goddamn career is chase day one views. Chase the popular games, try to get out in front of everybody, and try to get popularity off of it. Just like he does online on Twitter. Shit on whoever it is that's being shitted on, and if Phil can find a definite reason to do it without any real backlash, jump on that shit too, and try to get as much clout off of it as possible, and then try to get out before there's any repercussions. Same concept. This idiot right here was sent the game. Oh, well, I'm not gonna have time to play it, this, that, and the third. And if I don't play it when as soon as the iron's hot, oh, no one's gonna care about it. It's Doom. I think there's generally always gonna be someone who's gonna care about it. You're still chasing after all those monster views you used to get back in 2011. Bitch, wake the fuck up. Those days are gone. They've been gone. Been gone. Okay? They're over. Okay? Like all those nights Panda wanted you to come into the bedroom for some snuggle time, and you were too tired to. Now there's a better man wearing that ass out. It is what it is. She's screaming another man's name, Phil, and you gotta live with it. I mean, shit, Catherine, if it wasn't for the situation going on now, Catherine would probably still be screaming another man's name, and you gotta live with that too, buddy. That's the reality. That's how it works. And you chasing that pathetic attempt or pathetic mindset of chasing popularity from some shit from damn near a decade ago is beyond sad. And the fact that you were still doing that shit in 2016 is just as pathetic if you were doing it in 2020, our current year of gout. Jesus Christ.
So I'm thank you to that person, but at the same time, I strongly warn everyone, please do not just send me stuff without asking, because this is what happens. You might buy me something. Oh, I want to see Phil play that. Send me the code, and then I don't play it, and I don't want you feeling disappointed or gypped. So please check with me first, get my permission. Because the other thing is, what if more than one person buys me a game? That's the other thing I want to avoid. Oh God, imagine that. 4 people buy me Final Fantasy 15. Like, well, that sucks, because now you're all stuck with it, right? So do not buy anything without getting my permission first, all right? How do you contact me? Darksydephil.
Now, the level of practicality in that does make a bit of sense if people were going to send him duplicates of the same game. Then again, I would assume if he doesn't actually use the code, right? If he doesn't use the code, then more than likely those people could get a refund. But Phil's the type of ass clown, though, to go ahead and put all the codes in anyway, just so he could get over on them. Because Phil is it's very interesting how spiteful of a piece of shit that he is. It's really, really odd. Like right there, for example. Oh, if you guys send me 4, game codes or whatnot, oh man, you guys are going to get gypped and you guys are going to be left, holding the bag. Sucks for you guys. When in actuality, if you don't use any of the codes, I would think those people could get their refund back on it if they could explain it. Like the Amazon or something. As long as the code's not been used, I would think there would be some way of being reimbursed. Just throwing that out there. Same thing with a physical copy of a game that someone might send to Phil. If Phil ain't gonna play it, then mail that bitch right back. You know what I'm saying? Like, it works along those type of lines. But he looks at it as, oh, you already gave it to me. Oh, sucks to be you. Won't even try to make an attempt to play it. It's just, oh, fuck off. Sorry. Next time, you make sure you come to, make sure that you come to the principal's office and make sure that you have a permission slip before you do anything. Yikes.
Phil@hotmail.com. It's that simple. And many people have contacted me about it. That's how I got Infinite Warfare and all that, and that's how I got Titanfall 2. So donations, I'm open to them. Game donations, I'm not asking for them, but hey, if there's something that you want to donate, please let me know. All right. In fact, I've already gotten an offer. Someone said they pre-ordered Final Fantasy 15 and they were willing to maybe donate it. But one thing I have to very strongly recommend has to be digital. Because if you get a physical copy of the game, then you have to mail it to me, which takes days. So I'm already late playing it. It costs
day 1 views. Instead of just kind of being happy with it and moving the fuck on, right? Just be appreciative and move the fuck on. Oh, well, you're going to buy me this game to play? Oh, great, man. Oh, you were thinking about getting me the collector set with the statue and everything? Oh, well, that's great, man. But I need those day 1 views, so fuck your statues. Fuck all your little extras and shit. I don't give a fuck about that. I need those day 1 views, buddy. And make sure you show up to my YouTube video and click all the ads on that, too. Oh, speaking of which, make sure you come on stream, and make sure you also contribute to me on stream as well, guy. Okay, guy? All right, guy? Make sure you do that. Defiant sniff.
you money to ship it. It's not worth it. Digital only. So if you want, you can get the code, the PSN code or whatever, and send me that. That's how it works. All right. But again, don't send me anything without asking first, and confirm with me, and then we'll get everything worked out. All right.
He also wants to run you through. It's really like a background check, to be honest with you. He does that also to try to feel out if you're a troll or not. You know what I'm saying? That's really what that is. It's a screening process, is what I was thinking. He's really just trying to screen you. So the level of paranoia and all that was amazing. Absolutely silly. Because it's really just one giant-ass screening process. Oh, boy.
All right, now, to end the video, let's talk about my business, all right? So my Patreon did great, right? But what about everything else that's been going on? Because recently I've been doing some unique stuff. I just finished up wrapping up a few different games, right? I just finished up covering...
It's unique, you beating games? I mean, yeah, you're a quitter and a failure, and you're known for rage quitting and or wage quitting, but that's considered unique? Shocking.
Battlefield 1, and I reviewed it. I just have been playing Titanfall 2 over the weekend, right? I had a great Halloween horror marathon on Monday, which was a ton of fun, and a lot of people showed up, so I'm very pleased about that. And, you know, I have ongoing playthroughs like Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 and stuff like that. So you may be wondering, gee, Phil, is stuff up? Is stuff down? Well, here's where we left it, because I made the video about my business this past Saturday, and at that point, I told you things are slightly up. In fact, at that point, 3 days straight, my revenue had gone up. Now, that was either a result of, number one, everyone turning off ad block, so I actually make ad revenue on the videos, which I should have been doing altogether, but so many people use ad block that I'm sure that I wasn't getting half as much as I was probably supposed to be earning. That's number one. Or number two, YouTube flipped the switch on their holiday ads, which is probably more than likely what happened. The more profitable ads started flooding in on my gameplay videos, so you're watching the same videos just as much, and I'm making more money because the ads are more profitable. Okay, so that was great, and I had 3 straight
If people don't have ad block on.
days of that. So some people want to know, well, how'd it go since then? You had a marathon, how'd everything go?
You know what? I'm going to apologize to you guys right now, because that was a failed opportunity on my part. I should have had turn off that pesky ad block by Monday Matt. That'd have been a great tie-in. See, that's the reason why I don't stream. You gotta leave stuff like that to Tevin and LSB. You gotta leave that stuff to the professionals.
There's good news and there's uncertain news. All right, let me do the good news first. The good news is my Halloween horror marathon was my most viewed stream of October. And some of you might be like, wait a minute, but the Halloween marathon, there was never more than, say, 600 some people on the stream at one time, but you had 1,500 people on your stream for your PlayStation VR unboxing and your setup stream. How could that be? How could it be that this Halloween stream overall actually did better than the VR stuff? And the answer is quite simple. Length of time and length of engagement. All right? For the PlayStation VR stream, it was a shorter stream. It was only 2.5 hours long. And people didn't stick around as long as they did for the Halloween stream, where that stream ran 7+ hours and people stayed and watched for longer. Okay, so stat-wise and YouTube ad-wise and everything, the Halloween event was the most successful event that I pretty much did all month. Even though the views on YouTube on the videos aren't doing amazing, that was the best stream I did all month. So thank you to anyone who turned up for that stream, anyone who spread the word, anyone who was here. Thanks, that was great, and that made it worthwhile. It's like I've said, it's tough for me to take time out to do these events because I'm so busy with all these new releases. I don't even get a spare breath. I'm from one game to another game to another game to another game until the end of the year, right? So to take time out to do an event like that is very taxing on the business. That's why I need to have Patreon support in order for it to happen, just in case. Oh,
Wait,
God.
So I can't do special events like this, despite the fact that this particular special event had longer retention time and more engagement, which in turn can at least help some of his stats for the month of October. And yet, at the same time, he had told us that he's behind by 3 months because everything on YouTube is starting to go stagnant. So, you taking time to do a special event is hurting you, and is really more fanfare or fan service for those who like to support you, because you say you're so busy with the regular business, but yet views are down. And as you just brought up with the ad block situation, because more and more people watch you with ad block, you're making less and less in ad revenue. And to think just because the same group of people who are watching you without ad block, right, once the holiday ads in, is going to recoup for those who do watch you but have ad block on, is kind of silly as well. Especially when the very people who watch him with ad block on are probably not watching all of it anyway. Probably watching a couple minutes and then they're out. See how that works, Phil? So either A, they're clicking ads. You're asking... People are just clicking ads like crazy to try to get your ad revenue up. B, the rumor that was going around for a while that you may have view bots. Any of that's possible. Or ad bots. I don't even know how the ad bots thing works, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was a thing. Like, it has to be one of the three. Let's cut the ad bots thing out. It sounds funny, but let's just cut that out. I don't have any proof on that. You're still right where you're at. If you think about it, you're still literally just coasting along. It's not for better or for worse. You're just kind of coasting along. And the only reason why you had more retention on the the VR stream, the only reason why you had more retention on the Halloween stream compared to the VR stream is, one, the VR stream was shorter, and two, because the Halloween stream was longer, and even though you had less people watch it, more people stayed with it, and or people came back to it to continue to keep watching where they left off, which gave you better retention in the overall. Just throwing that out there. So it's not like you had a bunch of wheelchair symbols sitting there watching the whole 7 hours while drawing. More than likely that wasn't the case. What it was is you had a bunch of concurring viewers who came in, watched an hour, maybe even an hour 15 minutes, then checked out, and then came back and picked up where they left off, all within the span of that month. Started out there.
A game thralls through or whatever because I had to do this event, it covers it. All right. In this case, the event did very well. It did way better than last year's Halloween marathon, where most people quit the stream halfway through because it was only one game. I think because I had 4 different games that I was switching between, it went very well. So thank you to everyone who was there live. If you haven't seen the videos yet, they're all live. 4 games: Dino Crisis, Layers of Fear, Condemned Criminal Origins, and Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion. All great, fun, horror-themed games for the day. It was a great event. Definitely check it out on DSP Gaming. It's all live over there. Now, that's great news, but what about overall the business? Was I still up on revenue and all of that? You know, I would love to tell you, but once again, and I hate to say it, YouTube fucked up again. And it happens all the time. And this is why people don't seem to understand how crazy it is to be a full-time YouTuber, because YouTube doesn't always work. In fact,
no, this comes from this idiot right here who made a bunch of money early on and never thought about saving it, right, in case shit happened. First off, he doesn't do anything. You're literally hearing it. You've kind of heard it throughout this video. He does literally nothing. And what little he does do, he makes it seem like he's kind of stepping out of, he's doing them a favor by doing it, when in actuality he's more than likely being paid and or compensated from it in some way, shape, or form. That's the first thing. So there's a lack of effort as well as ambition. Secondly, what he puts out is utter garbage. No one should feel the need to support something that is garbage. So he lacks that right then and there. And third, and most importantly, it's DSP. It's Darksydephil. He's made so many mistakes in his past that it consistently and consecutively keeps coming back on him. He can't escape it. It would take Phil another decade of doing everything right just to clean up his YouTube channel and probably the majority of his metrics. And obviously that's a gross exaggeration, but you know what I mean. He can't do right at all. He just doesn't have it in him. He is too prone to trying to cheat the system than to actually put any hard work in. Is YouTube wonky? Is YouTube silly? Does YouTube screw people over? Yeah, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. But I'm also sure the same people who would say that, hey, YouTube has done some of these things, have some money put away. When money was good, right, they went ahead and they fucking stacked their chips like you're supposed to. They didn't go out there and sit there and spurge it on every goddamn thing. Or they weren't total fucking wheelchair symbols and thought, oh, this month I got 10 grand, and automatically assumed that every month following will be 10 grand as well, just because they did it that one month. Darksydephil actually does that. He's known for doing that. That's the difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the overall reality of the situation. Like, you can't get mad at a business that allowed you to make a living off of its back when the system wasn't set up to do so. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you, if you have an audience, right? If you have an audience, you put out great content, and you want to be compensated for it, by all means, monetize your shit. Or, not your shit, I'm sorry, monetize your stuff. Or, if you want to open up a Patreon and have people contribute to that because they like what you do, then do it. You shouldn't be worried about what people have to say or what people will say about you. Let me be honest, some people are going to shit on you for it. Keep it moving. To be honest, just keep it pushing. But don't worry about anything else, because the people who really support you will support you. You may have someone who's on your video for every video. They hear you got a Patreon, All right, I'm not watching you anymore. All right, no problem. Don't get mad at them. Ooh, my bad. Really? Oh, well, that'll be interesting. If I was into politics, that'd be something to talk about. Anyway, don't get mad about that. Don't get mad at them. Don't lash out them for that shit. Don't worry about it. Be like, okay, no problem. You don't even have to answer it if you don't want to. Just keep it pushing. You know what I mean? The people who want to support you, who will support you. The other ones who don't, they don't. You know what I'm saying? As long as you make it a precedence not to be like, you guys have to contribute to my Patreon. Or you guys have to watch the ads so I can be paid. You can't have ad block on. As long as you don't do dumb shit like that, you'll be alright. The reason why people shit on Phil for the monetization of what he does is he made you feel like you were obligated to do those things. He low-key threatened that, hey, if you guys don't hit these goals each and every month, I can't do these things. And that's going to overall hurt the business, and then eventually I'm going to have to go away. All those things were lies, by the way. You know what I'm saying? He fear-mongered people into believing that if they didn't do something the way he wanted, then it would just go away. And in actuality, it wouldn't. Which is one of the reasons why people shit on him. But for everybody else, dude, just use common sense as you're doing those things and you'll be fine.
I'd probably say about 25% of the time, YouTube isn't functioning properly. Views aren't recording, revenue isn't recording, subs are getting fucked with, videos aren't showing up right, videos aren't showing up in sub boxes, people are getting unsubscribed against their will, which just happened and I'm about to talk about. All these things happen on a regular basis because what they do, oh, I have an idea for a site implementation. This will fix an algorithm and make it better. Type. Oops, I didn't test it, but I implement it anyway, and everything on the site goes to shit for 7 hours. And I'm not kidding. This happens all the fucking time on YouTube. They got a bunch of eggheads who work behind the scenes. They think they know better than everyone else. Oh, this won't possibly mess up.
Oh no, is this the book smart, not street smart thing? No, we've already gone over that video, but this must be the continuation to it.
Anything up, it'll make everything better. Execute, and then the whole fucking website's like a big river of duty for like 2 days because they fucked everything up and no one's held accountable and they just continuously do this over and over. So, what happened? Here's what happened. This weekend, had a big increase in people on Patreon, big increase in people on stream for the Halloween event, and guess what YouTube did? Screwed with the views. So, I think the video views are correct. Like, if you look at a video, I think the views on a video are correct. But the total views on my channel has completely gone. It went up, it went down, it went up, it went down, it went back, it went forward. I call it the YouTube rollback. It's kind of like rollback netcode. You know netcode when you play fighting games? You're playing and you hit a guy, you do a combo, then all of a sudden the netcode says, oh no, that was false. It takes the whole combo back and the guy gets all his energy back. That's what I feel like it is on YouTube. You work your ass off for 3 days. Oh wow, here we go. Boop, here come the views. And then, boo, takes it right the fuck back as if you didn't do anything because YouTube sucks. All right? And it always has had this issue. And this happened.
Actually, now that I think about it, didn't Rich from Review Tech USA say once that when they changed the criteria for channels to qualify for monetization, right? Which is what, like 1,000 subs and like 4,000 hours watched, which, you know, for most people they think, you know, most people would think, well, that's an easy feat. Tomato, I suppose. I guess it depends. But I remember when that video came out, he decided to go ahead and chime in on it, and he was like, hey, you don't know how much time I put into this. You don't know, I went X amount of years without getting paid and so on and so forth, and I did this and I did that. So either A, if you're really passionate about this shit, then you'll suck it up and you'll do what you got to do. If not, you can get out. And then it was like 2 or 3 videos later, excuse me, Rich put out a video that he said he'd been working on for like 7 hours. And then he says, excuse me, sorry, Snortbucks Coffee is, I went with the salty Snort Supreme. God, this just started to hit a brother. Anyway, this started to hit me hard. The double cream shot was worth it though. Anyway, but then he, like I said, he put up a video. He worked on a video for 7 hours, uploaded it, and then either it immediately got demonetized. Something happened to where he got screwed on the video, basically. He basically took an L on it. And he basically made a video crying about it. Well, Rich, doesn't that seem a bit, you know, hypocritical a little bit? Like, as a content creator, I'm sure you're going to take some hits on some videos for some of the smallest bullshit. But I think what that is a small price to pay compared to what you said a couple of videos ago about people who were wanting their channels monetized. Whoopsie. Same type of concept. That's kind of what you're hearing here with Phil in such a way. Wild shit, man. Everybody's quick to go off and shit on people because they're complaining about something until it happens to them.
Both with views and with subscriptions. You might have noticed on channels, some people might say, Phil, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, you uploaded a ton of videos on DSP Gaming the past few days, so of course a lot of people unsubscribe. Fair enough. When I flood the channel with videos, that always happens. But right here on the King
So then why the fuck do you keep flooding the channel then, idiot? Like, did he not ever think about that? If you're losing... if you're uploading 20 or 30 goddamn videos a day and you see a couple hundred people subscribe each and every day you do it, maybe you should stop. But he's just okay with it. What the fuck, Phil? Jesus Christ.
Vlogs.
And that's the reason why he never hit 200,000 subs. That's the reason why he'll never, and quote me on this, cute pup in a sharp suit, GTG said that shit. It's the reason why he'll never hit 200 subs, or 200,000 subs. He's definitely never going to hit 250,000 subs. He'll never hit 500,000. Ever. Ever. Even though he doesn't even do those practices anymore. The stigma that's on him and the way he's fucked himself in the algorithm never happened. Well, yeah, I don't think it's going to ever happen. He's been chasing 200,000 for a number of years and he still ain't got it. He's just not going to.
Subscribers out of nowhere. Over on KO Gaming, where I've been uploading high quality reviews, which is the purpose of the channel, I lost a bunch of subscribers. It's bull.
High quality? Well, I guess beauty's in the eyes of the beholder, I suppose.
Shit. What YouTube happened is they fucked it up. They fucked something up. They realized their mistake and they rolled the site back to like 2 days. Okay, which took away views and everything, took away subs, took away everything, and now they haven't fixed it. So what I noticed is subs are going up again, but why? Because new people are subbing, but the views are locked. And the overall total views haven't updated in like 3 days. So normally by now, about the 2nd or 3rd of the month, I usually know how I've done the month before. And I wish I could say, guess what, everyone? The revenue continued to be up for the last several days of the month. The Halloween event really bolstered revenue earnings. And I had a really good month in October. Thank you. I can't tell you that because YouTube sucks. And they fucked everything up. And now there's no way to know when they're going to update it. It could be tomorrow, it could be a week from now, it could be 4 months from now. I'm not even kidding you. Late last year, YouTube screwed up for a whole...
if he had money in savings though, it wouldn't be this bad. Just saying. The mental gymnastics that he's going through, if he had money put away, like, actual successful content creators or just, content creators with common sense, who made themselves crazy money for a couple months and they stashed that shit away. They put it away and shit instead of actually spending it like fucking idiots. Then it wouldn't be so bad. But then you got to also take into account, I should say, greed. Greed is massively strong. And he's got no fucking self-control. So all of this bullshit right here is probably a lie. Well, some of it's probably true. But I would say most of it's probably a lie also. He probably has a generally good idea of what he's getting ready to pull in. Just saying. Even if the numbers have been are off by, let's say, 10, 15,000 views or whatever the case may be, he generally has an idea of what he's going to pull in. It's not that hard. It's not going to be that drastic. We're talking about a couple of $100, if I had to guess.
All the views were wrong. They didn't fix it.
And his income has been nosediving, for years at this point. So let's be honest. He's well acquainted with failure.
Until February of the next year. It took them 3 months to figure out what they screwed up. And then everyone got a fix. But think about that. So a week now I don't get paid. Yeah. That's literally what's going to happen. If that happens, I just won't get paid for a week because YouTube sucks and they don't fucking they're never held accountable. That's the thing. If we're all people who work on YouTube, right? We all make money on YouTube for doing YouTube and working our asses off providing content so that YouTube itself...
No. You work for YouTube, basically. Well, you work for Machinima, I should say, because this is 2016, so he was still part of Machinima. But essentially, you guys work for Machinima. You guys put out content, right? They gave you the option to monetize it. They take a piece, you get a piece. If you look at the corporation from an overall standpoint, you guys work for them. That's it. Or, if you want to be generous, for some people, you could say independent contractors. Then again, that's still not the case because they signed your paychecks. So you work for them to an extent, depending on how you want to look at it. Tomato, tomato. That's the reality. But here's the most important part on that situation. You put yourself in a position to where you work for somebody else. You are dependent on somebody else to give you a platform, which you don't put no money in on, by the way, right? For server space that you guys don't put no money in on, right? And all of the technical aspects and the shit that makes YouTube what it is, none of y'all put no money in on that at all. At all. And to be fair, and I'm not going to be that fair because, why would I do that? If it would be nice to say that, okay, well, YouTube only takes their cut, so they can go ahead and use that for server space and for the technical aspects and so on and so forth. And under those not credentials, those conditions, you may have an argument. The thing is you chose to monetize your stuff. Sorry, not shit. Well, for you, Phil, it's shit, but for everybody else's stuff, you chose to monetize your stuff. Okay, you chose to get in bed with YouTube financially. You work for them because you depend on them to pay your bills. You don't have what other people would call options. You chose to keep doing this. You chose that. There are plenty of successful YouTubers out there who people thought were doing this full time because of the amount of content they were putting out. And in actuality, it was called time management. Very good time management at that. And it was all just a side gig. And they made millions off this shit. You got a bunch of people out there that are in the 30s and 40s that are going to retire early off of YouTube. Because they understood what their audience was looking for. They understood how to expand. They saved their money, right? Because it was all extra money. They had jobs. They had careers. And then they were able to cash out early. That's what happened. For all of these people, though, who have chosen to get in bed and commit to this shit full time, you took a knowing risk going into it. And with that risk of having YouTube pay you money to put out, like I said, in Phil's case, garbage, there's going to be some hangups. Just saying. And Machinima, as your MCN and as your pimp, is going to be on top of some of that. So Phil going a week without getting paid is a bit it's not possible. It's not possible, but it's not plausible. Especially from this same idiot who has told us that Machinima told him that they overpaid him for months on end. And then for a couple months they didn't pay him at all because they had paid him too much the months prior. Womp womp.
And Google to make
or they didn't pay him as much.
On the website, right? They're taking a big cut of everything that we make on the website. We know that. Then they're not held accountable when they screw up. No repercussions, no restitution. I have to wait 3 months.
They're taking a big cut, but we know that's a lie. We know that's a lie, Phil, because ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have been following me on the main channel, when I went over the Review Tech USA, the Mighty D video that went over Wings of Redemption defending Phil, I need to go over that whole what's Rich call that? The exposed podcast or whatever. When I'll go over it. But when the point is that in the Mighty D video, he took the part where one of the parts where Wings said that when they were with Machinima, they had a 90-10 split. So where's all that big money at that YouTube's taking? When Machinima's only taking 90-10. Which means Machinima was kind of working at a deficit. So where was all that big money at, ladies and gentlemen? I'm just asking for some clarification. I'm just wondering. I'm asking.
To get paid. Oh well, tough shit. It's YouTube. It's ridiculous. It's one of the worst business models I've ever seen, but it's YouTube. It's the biggest video sharing website, so we all have to put up with it, right? So I'm sorry. I wish I had great news for everyone. I wish I could raise the banner of victory and say we all rallied at the end of October and people turned off ad block and I had a raise in revenue and things are looking good and let's keep it up. And I can't even say that. Maybe in a few days, maybe in a week, maybe longer, I'll be able to tell you. Right now, I can't tell you diddly shit. I can tell you when it stopped, when it screwed up this past weekend, things were looking good, but I can't definitively tell you anything because the website's screwed up, all right? So if and when it does update, if there is positive information or even negative, I'll try to make another video like this to brief you and let you know what's going on. All right. For now, I am basically trying to do as much as I can. I'm juggling tons of games. All right. And I'm going to continue to do so.
You're juggling tons of games and you're so busy and you're so encumbered, yet he has time to make videos like this in between all that. Instead of listening to some of the suggestions to how to make his business better. He can make videos complaining about how poor his business is doing and how much support he needs, but he can't take the time to actually implement some of the suggestions given to him to improve it. Sure, that makes a whole lot of sense. That's some interesting pignosis, but yeah, I guess that makes sense. I guess.
November into December, and then keep in mind that December my year-end series start, so things are going to pick up in a big way over on KO Gaming. People who typically watch my year-end series on DSP Gaming are going to have to head over to KO Gaming, and I think they will, because most of them went over to the King of Hate vlogs to watch my E3 coverage. They got the message, so I think they'll head over to KO Gaming to watch my year-end stuff, and things are going to start to get interesting.
You think your year-end stuff rivals your E3 coverage? Wow, no. No. Sorry, Phil.
Near the end of the year, all right? That's what the biggest ad revenue is. So if I can get viewer retention, and you know what I mean, that's the biggest time of the year to get a big increase, that November, December time. So let's see how it goes, all right? I'll end the video like this. Thank you, everyone, for your support, for your kind messages, for your Patreon pledges, for turning off ad block, for spreading the word about my stuff. I know that you have been at work this past couple of weeks to help me out, and I am very appreciative. I cannot complain one bit about one single viewer. You guys have been awesome, and you've been so engaging on social media, and you've been really nice to me, basically coming out of the woodwork to tell me, no, Phil, don't take all the stuff that YouTube's telling you about your views and everything being down as a sign that people don't care about you anymore. It's the opposite. We're the silent majority. We're the ones who've been here all along. We love what you do. We want you to keep doing it. Here's a Patreon pledge. Here, I'll turn up my ad block. Here, I'll do this. I'll go above and beyond. I'll donate a game. I'll do whatever to make sure that you can still be successful on YouTube and keep...
See what I said about people committing themselves to him and how it's not about the content. It's him continuing to push the narrative of you guys have to be committed to me. It's not about the content. The content just lets him stay stagnant on the platform. You know what I'm saying? It's just something he can tie his name to. In actuality, he wants people who are committed to him, not the content. If that's not a cult, I don't know what is.
Doing it. Thank you. You have no idea how much I needed that, because after a couple months of looking at how bad stuff was, I was like, what is going on? I was so demotivated. And people were even saying when they were watching my videos, I sounded demotivated. I didn't seem like I was interested in working anymore, and that's what happens. You know what I mean? When I turn out and I bust my ass to get this stuff done and get through games and do these high-quality videos and everything for you, and then I look at it, YouTube's telling me everything's good but you suck, is like, how can you tell me I'm good but I suck? You know what I mean? Like, you shake my hand and you slap my fucking face at the same time. It doesn't make any sense. So that's it for this video. Okay. Hope you now have more information on Patreon. Those who did pledge, hope you get on it. Keep your eyes peeled for PMs this coming Sunday. Please respond as soon as possible. Please pledge for the month of November. If you haven't yet, I need as many people as possible. Please, if you pledge in October, please consider and keep your pledges going, not just pulling out, because it's that ongoing support that's going to allow me to be successful. Thank you to those who have donated games. Thank you to those who are considering donating games. Thank you to those who are looking forward to all the new stuff coming up. I'm feeling positive. I hope you're feeling positive as well. All right. That's it, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll see you soon. All right. What is up?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yikes. Oh, that was special as hell. That was special as hell. All right, ladies and gentlemen, give me a chance to straighten up a little bit, and then we will reconvene for final thoughts. Because why wouldn't we?
with Mittens joking about his name is so fly. Mittens cause he whipping, don't you get it, but that stove's hot, hot. Now let this be a lesson, professor. He handling the hit in his possession. Ooh, what you cooking, what you cooking? Scalding hot beats was blow up before it's cooking. Ooh, I know you're looking true. I'm out taking with this beat, I'm a lady man. I'm really tryna date it out. What's the number tryna call out? What about my team? Wood, shawty don't get logged out. Made by Bethesda, the only way we fall out. Morocco, you a mole. Find another hole to crawl out. Hey, I'm sick and swear with the biggest.
Good shit. I love that song. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, what do we take away from all this? Patreon, ladies and gentlemen. To be honest, excuse me. All right, Patreon was a crutch, to be honest. And to be honest with you, it was even more of a problem. It only contributed to the problem. It didn't help it. It didn't help it at all. I make that argument that, yet again, adding more money to a business that is hemorrhaging, right? That's hemorrhaging capital, and cannot garner interest it's just throwing money at failure. And that's all it was. And to be honest, in our current year of 2020, our current year of gout, that proves that. It proves it. But you could tell, I think, even back then in 2016, I think there's anybody back then who had followed Phil for any amount of time realized that shit ain't gonna work. There's nothing that Phil can really do in the long term that ever comes out to be successful. His YouTube channel itself is Exhibit A. Exhibit B is his fighting game, his FGC career. Exhibit C is his relationship with Panda. It just doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? And you can it really usually always comes back down to him in a very big way, because either A, he can't handle a situation, he doesn't know how to talk it out, he can't articulate himself. Who could say? But nothing ever works out well for him in the long term because he's just, he can't conduct himself in such a way. You know what I'm saying? He tried to go into the FGC, he tried to play this badass shit, he tried to play it like it was WWF, and boys were going to put the skins to his ass, and other people had to save him. You know what I'm saying? If the more and more that I watch and I read through the forums about how he conducted himself during the during the FGC, it sounded a lot like WWF in the Attitude Era. That's exactly what that shit reminds me of. You know what I'm saying? It's fucking crazy. His business acumen is no different than when he was working at the helicopter company. He figured out a way to fuck himself out of it, just like he did with any other job he's ever had that he's told us about. And then, as it pertains to the relationship with his audience, unless you're just blindly devoted to him, it's no different than, to be honest, it's no different than his relationship with Panda. Eventually, everybody grows up and wakes the fuck up. It's just what he is. Phil is probably at his best in the short term. And really it comes down to the fact that he doesn't have it in him to put effort into anything. It's always the bare goddamn minimum. That's it. There's nothing else. There's nothing else that has any real inherited value to it that would make me believe that he could actually be successful doing things the way he's been doing. You got to work at it. I got into quick story, and then we'll end this and whatnot, because I want you guys to go ahead and go along with your day and shit. I got into an argument with a dude who slid into my Twitter DMs and whatnot, who said that he felt that the reason why other detractors are more well respected is because they don't go at Phil's neck the way I do. I was like, okay, fair enough. If that's the case, what's your point though? And he's like, what? What's your point? So other detractors are successful. So what? Outside of the fact that I'm happy for them, so what? What's the point of your argument? Well, maybe if you looked at Phil with a better light, then it is what it is. I'm not a Phil fan. I'm not a Phil supporter. I don't have to do that. Well, if you're good at pointing certain stuff out. Why couldn't you acknowledge him in some way, shape, or form? All right, fair enough. So what do you want me to acknowledge exactly? You want me to go back and say in his FGC that maybe he had talent, but since he didn't have the work ethic behind it, he failed? Do you want to hear that again? Oh, do you want me to tell you that he had talent as a YouTuber? He didn't. He found a bunch of idiots that were willing to follow him, and they did. Period. That's all that really comes down to. And as they grew up, they faded themselves out. Unless Phil faded them out. What am I supposed to acknowledge with that? You want me to talk about his relationship with Panda? If his ass could get it up, maybe she could have stuck around. But since you were failing, and you wanted her to get a job, which wasn't really a bad thing in actuality, she kind of needed to go off and get a job. But since all the pignosis you had put her under all those years, once she got around people, it wore off. To be honest, you should have told Panda to get a job probably right around the time you guys first started dating. Not because you needed the money, Phil, but it would allow her to grow as a person and grow into herself a little bit. And she might have not have been what's considered the cunt that she was while she was with you. That's what the reality is. But going back to the person who wanted to initiate this argument with me, what else do you want me to point out? What else am I supposed to acknowledge? And then the conversation kind of abruptly ended. And the reason why for that, lady, and I get that a lot. I've gotten that a lot from a lot of different people. Here's the reality. You're not going to sit there and try to compare me to someone else and think that's supposed to change my opinion about anything. It don't work that way. And if you don't like what I'm saying about Phil, that means there's something about what I'm saying that touches you in a way that you're not that touches you deep as it pertains to your allegiance to Phil or your loyalty to Phil that bothers you. Because if it didn't, you'd let that shit slide. You'd let that shit slide. But there's something that I'm pointing out that you've seen before, and it bothers you. And you're not man enough and or woman enough to go ahead and address him. And that's why you have to address either myself or any other detractor. I'm sure this isn't unique just to me. That's the reality. That's what it comes down to. If you want him to be better, then make him do better. Don't come to me and ask me to lay off of him, because that's not going to help. That's like asking me to roll off MILF and cookies. She loved that shit too much. You see the scratch marks on my back? Psh, sorry, bruh. She having a good time. I'm having a great time. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? When Alex can go ahead and reach for the WD-40 out of his wheelchair, then he can come holler at me. Until then, I'm going to treat him like a stepchild and go ahead and move the fuck on. I got things to do. You cutting into your mother's fucking time. That's the reality. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. I'll see you guys for the next video, whenever that may be. Hopefully sooner than later. This is DSP News 2nd edition. Take care of yourselves, guys. And for all you guys who keep wanting to send me hate mail and shit, go ahead. Like I said, I'll address you guys as I need to. But, you know, if you guys are looking for me to lash out at you or something, I don't care enough to do so. And more often than not, it actually is a bit more enlightening. It's actually, let me reword that. It gives me an interesting perspective in the mindset of a bunch of people who are okay with being victimized. Because I don't understand what that's like. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get that. That don't make no sense to me. Where I'm from, you don't allow that to happen. You know what I'm saying? And the people who care about you, who give a shit about you, don't allow that to happen. So when I see a bunch of people go ahead and go through that, it's fascinating to me. So you're really only helping me by lashing out at me. You're doing me a favor. So keep doing it. Please do. You're making this into a fascinating case study on why lolcows are able to get away with what they're able to get away with for as long as they do. Because at the end of the day, right, the reality is it's going to come very painfully apparent to most of you that the reason why Phil Burnell is where he's at is because you let him be where he's at. So hate the detractors all you want. The trolls, the haters, the critics. Go ahead and do your little shit and get mad at Detractor Twitter, get mad at Kiwi Farms, get mad and leave your little likes and dislikes or whatever under Detractor videos or on Detractor videos. Do whatever you want. It don't change the fact that Phil will fail. And at the end of the day, you guys are going to play a part in that. You already have. If you don't like it, don't watch. Have a good day, guys. Later.
I'm sick and swirl with the biggest girls. Lace since the case get up, I think you're stripping, girl. Damn, how sound that cliche, right? Well, I flame out brain, I'm the PK type. Come and rest in my nest, I'ma bet that night. Metaphor, girl, you gon' get that pipe. Whoa, wrong song, I'm thinking about bum bum. Chicka, wow, wow, the calling of my sloan. The snapping of her thong, the rapping of this song. So tell you this boy's gifted, giving you my own soul. Hey, now what's better than that? Hey, hey, now what's better than that? Hey, and it don't stop. Coach Crew gon' rockin' it, don't stop. Coach Crew gon' rockin' it, don't stop. I'm just a nerd. Hey, 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 and it don't stop. Coach Crew gon' rockin' it, don't stop. Coach Crew gon' rockin' it, don't stop. I'm just a